Why, hello everybody, and welcome back to Doctor of Love Marathon. My name is Natara, and I'm going to be both your host and your restreamer for this next run. We have Thilotilo here going to run this wonderful game, and hopefully it's going to be a lot of fun for all of us. So if you're ready to go, you can get us started.
Alright, just a quick background. This is Destiny of an Emperor. This is kind of the first of all the Three Kingdoms games that came out. You've played Dynasty Warriors, you may be familiar with some of these characters, but anyway, it's just a really fun game for the NES that I've enjoyed running, and as far as I know, this is its marathon debut, so without further ado, we'll get started. So we start off with these three guys, Liu Bei, Guan Yu, and Zhang Fei, saying, "Hey, we're brothers. We're gonna die on the same day." Blah blah blah. And so now we're talking to this guy, and he's saying these guys called the Yellow Scarves have kind of taken over the area, and the local precinct leader needs you to dispatch of them. So the first thing we're going to do, as you'd expect in any RPG, is to die. Let's see. This is kind of the biggest glitch we take advantage of in the game. Actually, this is pretty good. So there's these three guys that are Yellow Scarves that are at these different places: Zhang Liang, Zhang Bao, and Zhang Zhao. And if you've played this game casually, they were always a pain to deal with, because it's a pretty high difficulty curve at the start. Well, it turns out there was a recent glitch discovered where if you get those first two guys killed and then do a cancel action like that, it removes several generals from the game, including all three of these Yellow Scarves. So it makes life a whole lot easier from the very get-go. So now we get reprimanded for dying, and now we get to actually do the game progression. So we'll equip some of the starting gear we have. And then we're going to go talk to this guy right here who says, "Hey, I want to help out, so I'm going to give you some money and some food." Food is an interesting mechanic in this game that will have absolutely no importance for the speed run, but basically every step you take, it consumes food, and if you run out, your soldiers start depleting while you're walking around. But every time you fight a kind of a set battle, you will get a certain amount of food, and unless you're doing a lot of grinding, which we do not, you will never really hit a limit that's going to cause problems. So you don't have to think about food the rest of the game. Now this is the fun part. Since we have the General Han Zheng here, there is it's a 3/8 chance that we're going to fail to run, if I recall correctly. So inevitably since this is a marathon, we're going to get marathon luck, which means we are obviously not going to get away very quickly. So this game has a lot of similarities to the Dragon Quest games and whatnot, and this is a rather surprising frequency of failures to run. So, but it's got a few little quality of life things. You may have noticed just from the get-go that we're moving a little faster than you'd see in a lot of the other RPGs. So it's got that quality of life element to it. And then there's another element that we saw when we were dying, and we'll see again, is this all-out feature. Hey, we got away. This all-out feature, which basically is we're just going to send your generals out to hit random guys, and hopefully you're going to win. So we're going to pick up this extra guy that is largely being used as damage fodder, but and don't ordinarily stay at the end here, but he took a lot of damage in that little spot. So, now we're going to go on to fighting. This is the battle where you usually fight Zhang Bao, Chen Wanji, and a rebel force. And so, now, we fight a rebel force, because we decided to remove the other guys from the game. at least temporarily. Shengonji is going to get put back in the game in a little bit due to just the way some event triggers work, but Zhongbao there is gone. So we're going to come and find the first of the many hidden weapons in this game. An axe, which is basically doubling our attack power here. This guy. So, this game has an interesting mechanic to it, which is you don't gain stats the same way you do in most RPGs. You have a few generals that gain soldiers, but your damage output is based upon three things. Your strength, which never changes, your weapon damage, which of course is static for whatever weapon you have, and the number of soldiers you have. Specifically, there's a damage multiplier that's based on the number of digits of soldiers you have. And it's actually the square of the number of digits. So if you're at 100 to 999, it's a 9 times multiplier. When you drop, below 100, it becomes 4 times, etc. So it's a very important thing to make use of that we're going to take into account as the game goes on, which is why we give the strongest weapon to Liu Bei here, even though the other Guan Yu and Zheng Fei are both stronger and could do more damage with it. They drop under 100 real fast, and so their damage gets halved. So this is the all-out feature, as mentioned before. And this is... wow. And this is about the worst I've ever seen this battle go, which is, again, very remarkable. Very good marathon luck. This one usually doesn't have anybody die. Death in this game is reasonably painful. You have to buy a special item, which is expensive, and yeah, that's the only way you can get back. So there are a couple story triggers that bring some people back, which is why I'm not going to try to bring Guan Yu back quite at the moment. We're going to see what happens. So we're going to go get this axe here. Now that was a fortress that we were supposed to fight Zhang Jiao at, and he was not there. And as you saw, we took a pretty heavy beating even before that. So you know that, so you can imagine how difficult it was beforehand. This was actually a very, very challenging part of the speedrun before this glitch was discovered. It's made life a little easier now. The start of the game is pretty brutal, casually and in the speedrun. So here's where we're supposed to fight Zhang Liang and 2 rebel forces. Zhang Liang's been removed from the game, so we just have the 2 rebel forces.
Can I pop in with a couple of donations?
Just 1 second.
Yeah, no problem.
Alright, so now the next thing is this is supposed to be one where you fight all 3 of them and these 2 guys right here. And we removed them all from the game. Ordinarily, there's a back way to go, so you don't have to fight these extra guys. But we are going to die here. That's not usually what you want to have happen, but we're actually going to get multiple people resurrected by dying here. So we're going to go back and finish it off. Go ahead with the donations.
Perfect. So we got a $50 donation from J. Brun TR saying, the generosity and camaraderie of this community is absolutely amazing. Keep up the good work. Thank you so much for that. And we got $15 from the bottom tier saying, hey everyone, let's overthrow the Han! I think we are trying to do that.
Technically speaking, we're doing the opposite in this one. We are the Han and trying to keep it from being overthrown, but in this game, we will ultimately succeed in that. In reality, the Han did not have such luck.
And just to note that neither of those donations went towards anything, but we do still have 1 bid war left open. That's for Super Monkey Ball 2, where we have a bid war between which character is going to be used. Currently, Gon Gon is in the lead with 120, but Baby is trailing closely behind with 115. So if either of you wish to assign your donation to one of those, just send me a whisper in Twitch. I'm Natara, and I will assign it.
Alright, so now we finished these guys off. And naturally, we're getting more marathon luck. So I'll get to that in a second. So we're going to come here and go. The kind of leader of this precinct over here is now sick and on his deathbed, and he is very. And so he is asking Liu Bei here to take his place as kind of the leader. So we lose him from our party now, and he takes over, place as leader of the area, but he sends his son along to join us and help us out. Son is stronger, not nearly as smart. So, in this game, there are tactics, which is basically spells. But you have, your party has a certain number of tactical points. It's not on an individual character basis, and it's based upon, or you gain tactical points every level that somebody learns a tactic. You will gain between 3 and 5. 3 ends up putting you in pretty bad shape, so naturally I've already gotten a 3. But then the tactics you're able to use is based upon your tactician, which we aren't going to see that quite yet. We aren't making any use of a tactician for a few more battles, but they have a set of tactics based upon how intelligent they are and what level you're at. And anybody on the team can use those tactics, but the party itself has a maximum number of tactical points it can use, so that can become limiting later when those tactics become very valuable if we don't get a lot of points early on. So now we pick this guy up, and if we talk to Liu Bei, he's telling us there's this guy Dong Jua who's now causing all sorts of problems and has taken over the capital of Luoyang. And so we're going to go try to deal with him. First we come to this place. Now this battle is also one that was a nightmare many years ago. Still challenging, but there's supposed to be another guy in this battle in Li Su, and he's been removed from the game as well. And so otherwise this battle would be very, very difficult. One thing that removing the generals did from the run was it decreased the amount of experience you got, so your levels aren't as high when you get right here, which makes the battle even more challenging. But since they removed a character, it made it less problematic, which would otherwise have made that a major, major roadblock. I'm going to get ourselves another weapon. We're just going to hold on to that for now. Going to go get ourselves an instay here. And now we're going to go to this cave. Actually, first we're going to pick up this special little hidden item here called Chituma. That is, in lore, that is Lu Bu's horse. But it's one of these items that was, mentioned in Nintendo Power or whatever years ago when this game came out, but no one actually knew what it did. And we actually called the Nintendo Power hotline as children to see if we could find out what value it was, and they told us it had absolutely no value. It was just a waste of slot, which was incorrect. Turns out that all of these generals have a hidden agility stat, which you cannot find in any place in the game, but they have a hidden agility stat, and whoever has Chichuma in their inventory, that agility stat is boosted by 50%. So if you give it to someone who's already kind of got a high agility, they will go first in the battle at a very high frequency of time. So we picked that up, and it's going to help us out a lot in the future when we need to go first in a battle. Already we gave it to Lu Feng, who's our fastest general, and he will go first on most turns because of it. So we're traveling through this cave. I don't know if there's any story reason that they tell you to go into this cave, but it's here, and so you naturally will. And we pick up this gold key. That's going to become useful to us a little later. I will mention something with the caves. There is a cave glitch, and basically the encounters that you get in a cave are based upon the zone of the last encounter you got. So this cave is in the second zone of the game, not in the first, and so we should be fighting tougher encounters. However, because we didn't run into an encounter in Zone 2 before we got into the cave, we're still fighting the Zone 1 enemies, which is very, very nice, because the Zone 2 guys can really beat you up. This cave is generally considered to be the most frustrating part of the run, where most runners complain because the encounter rate just seems to be out of this world when you're in it. It's really not that high. It's like 1 in 16. But it just always seems to go rough. Yeah, it's the most encounter RNG you're seeing in chat. It's the most encounter RNG in the run. After an hour or so into the run, we're going to get some items that are going to allow us to avoid random encounters almost entirely for the rest of the game, unless we want them. And so, anyway, we get the key. This guy, Guanping, shows up here in the front of the cave, and that's one of the two reasons we want to go through all this cave to get the key. Even the Taz goes through this game cave to get the key, largely in order to get Guanping. Oh, screwed up my formation here. Alright, now let's bring Guan Yu here back to life. And so now we're going to go to this little gate fortress here, and we're going to come across Lu Bu, who we're going to get sick of seeing throughout the game. But he is a very strong general, in fact, the strongest general in the game, and he will cause this problem. Meanwhile, Li Ru over there has a tactic called Yihua, which will do a lot of damage, as you just saw. Did 100 damage to Miji there. So, he will use that a certain percentage of the time, otherwise he'll attack and do like 2 damage. So, this is the first battle you're seeing that we're actually taking slow to make sure we target Lu Bu correctly, because otherwise we can end up getting wrecked. This is often in normal runs. I will all out here, and this will be my major reset point, because this battle can go bad very quickly. So now we're going to see him kill Miji. Now, that's actually what we want. That's why we put him at the top of the party. There is a glitch in this game that is that actually messed up a lot of people casually, and we do a decent amount of work to get around in this game. And it's called the 7th slot glitch. Basically, I mentioned you gain tactics when somebody learns a tactic. Well, when it's checking who learns a tactic, it starts looking through this loop. And if the person at the very last slot in your party learns a tactic, then it will look past that person to see if there's another one, which ends up looking garbage memory and overwriting stuff in that with tactic data. And when that happens, it will randomly goes into an area of memory that detects whether chests are open or not. And if the chests are, and if it marks a chest with a key item in the game as open, then you can soft lock the game. And that's never fun. And I've had many, many casual games ruined to that when I didn't know that as a kid. So, we kill Miji here because we don't want him in our party after this battle. And let's check our tactical point gains. We were at 17, and we are up to 21, so that's an average gain. And then we just went up to 26, that's a max gain, so that's good. So we're going to pick up this guy here, Ho-Hu, and he's going to be the guy we're going to start using as our tactician. Now, when you set someone as a tactician, they will by default go into the last slot in your party. And because of that, unless you have 5 or fewer people in your party, they will not be in there. Now, if you want... So whoever's 6th in your party, or 6th and 7th in your party, will not show up in battle. They're just kind of extra people here. So, and what generally happens is there's the other tacticians are not people you want to have in battle generally. You want them, as your tactician. But So like Miji, we don't really want him anymore. He's not any good, except for as a meat shield, but we've got guys who can deal actual damage now. So later on, we're not going to want him in the battle, or we're not going to want him there, and so we're going to want to move him in the back, and if he's not dead, then somebody's going to end up in the back. Either we're going to actually have to pull someone out of the party to put him in the back, or we're going to have to put him in the back and risk the 7th slot glitch. So we end up wanting some people to get killed throughout this run, so that we can put them high up in the party and they won't show up, so we don't have to put them in the back. So we always want him to die here. It doesn't matter yet, but it will in a short period of time. And I will bring that up then. But now we are going through to go try to... We're heading towards Luoyang, which is, at this point, I believe, the capital of China, and that's been taken over by Dongjua. And so we're kind of heading there. Most of these castles that we're going to get throughout the game have these gates in front of them that you're going to have to fight some set encounters on. Now, I don't remember if it's this one or the next one, but there's another character, Guoji, who is the last of the characters that we removed from the game that's going to be relevant. And so he is supposed to be here, and I don't remember which one of these two battles it is, but there was a glitch known to get rid of just him ages ago, but we only learned about how to get rid of all the extra generals very recently. So we've taken a little bit of damage, and we're going to... We bought some elixirs that are specifically for this purpose right here. We're going to refill ourselves. This will be the only time we use healing items in the game outside of Resurrects. We're just going to give all of our generals a little bit of a soldier boost. I may have mentioned it, not in this game we have soldiers rather than hit points. So the size of the army, this is the size of your army, which makes sense why the larger that is, the more damage you'll do. Alright, so now we're going to actually use tactics for the first time. And the tactics in this game are Chinese names, which means that if you don't know the Chinese words, you're not going to know what these do unless you're looking at a manual of some sort. So this is basically a fire tactic. It's going to do a certain amount of damage to the generals, and it's more powerful than anybody's attack. Whether or not you hit with the tactic is based upon the difference between your general's intelligence and the opposing general's intelligence, which is why Zheng Fei, who does not have a high intelligence value, continues to attack, even though he would do a lot of damage if he landed the tactic. So that's going to become very important later on in the run, the difference in intelligence in terms of how we distribute our tactic usage. You will see, though, as we're going through, we're down to 6 tactical points, 4... so every time everybody who uses the tactic takes away the party's tactical points, and now we're out. We have no more tactical points for this battle. I'll have to go to the end to get those back. So now we're just going to focus on trying to take out Lu Bu here, because he still hits very, very hard, and ideally nobody's going to die. Right early in the game, the money routing is kind of tight, and so you don't want to be using Resurrects if you don't have to. But naturally that happens. We happen to have Resurrects hiding around, so we'll go ahead and use that. When you resurrect someone, they come back with 400 soldiers, which is really nice early on in the game when most of your generals cap out at a small number of soldiers. is less nice later in the game when you're in 5-digit soldiers, and 400 is pretty much asking to be killed again. But what you're going to see, like in this one, I'm going to be hitting Lubu until he drops under 100 soldiers here, and then I'm going to all out, because he'll do a lot less damage. Once he hits 100 soldiers, he'll drop that in half. Finished them off. We're going to finish clearing off, and we've removed them from the capital city of Luoyang. Deng Zhuo runs away, but in the process, let's go up the level first. We're hoping to see a 35 here. There, it's very nice. In the process, they torch the city. We're going to go into one of these few buildings that's still available, and we're going to see this small keyhole here. And if we use this gold key we got in the cave, we're going to get a gem sword. This gem sword is going to be of use very shortly. We learned that Lubu likes shiny things. I see people talking about the shiny already in chat here. Lubu likes shiny things, and so we have this shiny thing. Go to our inn, and we're going to head off, trying to chase after Deng Zhuo. Well, if we get away from these guys, they can hurt us pretty badly. Alright. These grass tiles are a 1 in 32 encounter rate, so 3 and 4 is unfortunate RNG. So we're going to go to our third location that has Lubu at it again. As I said earlier, you kind of get sick of seeing him. But we have something shiny, so we're going to show it to him and see what he'll do. Well, we'll take out one of these trouble forces. Unfortunately for us, he doesn't recognize what it is. I don't know what the percentage is, but sometimes he does that. He says, "What's that?" and completely ignores it, and then we move on with the rest of the turn. Oh, what am I doing? Completely forgot. Gem sword. There we go. Let's try it again. There, this time he notices it and he's, "Oh wait, that's the gem sword? I would give you anything for that." And so you give it to him, he's like, "Oh, you're so kind, can I join you?" And you're like, "Yes, you may." And he tells you can find that horse Chituma, but he doesn't give you, he tells you 8 south, or 8 west and 1 south. It doesn't give you the reference point that you're supposed to be starting that from, which caused a lot of people issues. Just trying to find it casually. Sometimes you're lucky. We've seen, I know Hangry's had a time where Lubu was the only one left in this battle before he finally accepted this gem sword. So we're going to finish off the rest of this crew here, and now we have Lubu in our party. And this is where that 7th slot glitch aspect I was talking about becomes relevant and why we wanted Miji dead. Because we want our party to have Lubu, Guanping, Lu Feng, Zheng Fei, and Guan Yu. And we can't do that and avoid having either Miji or Hua Hu in the 7th slot. Unless, or we can't do that and have, yeah, both those happen. So, what we do is we get Miji killed, and then we just keep him high up in the party. We put our strategist in front of somebody because our strategist will default to the back of the party when the battle starts. And we are going to do a safety save here. This game has a rare but unfortunate glitch where at certain points it will just crash. And there's nothing you can do about it, nothing you can do to stop it. It's happened a few times to me. I know it happened to Hangry last night. but that's what we're going to be doing safety saves for. Death in this game is not particularly costly, but the game crashing is obviously pretty costly. So we're going to hope that doesn't happen. It doesn't usually happen, but it can. So we're going to safety save throughout the game to decrease the amount of repeating we're going to have to do if that does happen. The interesting thing about these caves is some of these tile sets, these shadows in the caves, are safe squares where you cannot run into encounters. So you will see us try to run through these shadows as much as possible. We're getting closer to the spot where random encounters becomes less of a nuisance. But that is the unfortunate part with early game, is it's very, very RNG heavy in terms of encounter rate. And so you can get off, there's fluctuations of several minutes that you can end up in the early game just based on that encounter rate and run luck. So we're going to exit this cave now, and obviously get encounters. And head towards Chang'an here, which is where Dong Jua had retreated to. So we can get rid of him and, bring peace to the area. Alright, we're hoping for a 40 here. We got a 40. That's going to be very nice. Tactical points at the end of the game becomes a really big issue in terms of some of the decisions you can make and how safe they're going to be. So we're going to start off all outing here, but we may have to pull back depending on how the damage ends up distributing. Alright. We do not want anybody to die. So we're going to use a healing tactic here. While we finished off Dong Jua here. And we're going to charge again and see what happens. There we go. So now we killed Dong Jua. Pieces returning, everything's great. Actually, I don't want to go to the end yet. I'm going to do a little bit of inventory management here, so if you have anything to say, Natara, this would be a great time.
Absolutely. Well, we don't have any donations right now, so let me just talk about what we're doing this for. We are currently fundraising to benefit the Spondylitis Association of America. For those who are not aware, a good friend of ours, Dr. D, Dr. Degenerator, passed away last year due to complications of a condition he suffered with, which was spondylitis. And so last year we did a fundraiser in order to help costs to his family, but this year we wanted to give back and try and help others who might have the same condition that he had. So everyone has been so incredibly generous to this. I'm putting the donate link currently in the chat. It's !donate will give you the link where you go to donate. Most of our objectives have currently been met. However, there is still a bid war open in order to pick which of the monkeys we will use for Super Monkey Ball 2, which I believe is our next run. So currently Baby is in the lead with $130, and Gong Gong is in a close second with $120. Mimi is at $105, and Ai is at $20. So I have full faith you folks can pick the monkey of your choice. And this is still going on for another 4 or 5 hours today, until this evening certainly. So definitely, let's see if we can hit that 3,000, way up from the 500 we initially set, so we can just really give back on behalf of someone who is just such a solid person and kind soul in our community, Dr. D.
Oh, thank you, Natara. So we came into this new palace and we invited Liu Bei and say, hey, you can take up residence here now instead of having to be in your little local precinct. You come to this place that's called Billeting, and this is where you can remove and add party members. So we're going to get rid of Miji here so we don't have to worry about a 7th slot glitch right now, and because we're going to have to do some inventory management later. So we brought Liu Bei here, and he's going to tell us, hey, thanks, you did such a great job, take a rest. And then while we're resting, we get summoned and say, hey, something's going on. We're going to take a quick detour before we go up and find out what's going on. We're going to buy some armor. One of the biggest things in routing this game and running it is just menuing and inventory management, because it's, as a lot of NES games, the menuing can be very slow and time-consuming at points. So finding out how to minimize that as much as possible is always a good thing. Alright, so we're going to find out what Liu Bei wanted. And he's going to say, hey, I've got a messenger here with some unfortunate news. And he says, General Yuan Shu has now acquired the Imperial Seal and is calling himself the Emperor. So now we gotta go deal with that problem. So, we're gonna head out and, check something. Okay. We're gonna head out and go deal with that particular issue. And we are now in Zone 3, and the generals and the rebel forces have decided to have a lot more soldiers. So fortunately for us, we are much stronger than our opponents, but they are well armed. This is the first part of the game where, casually, it wasn't super demanding. Going all the way through Luoyang was, every battle was like, oh, well, this is the hardest battle of the game so far. This is the hardest battle of the game so far. Now it settles down for a few battles until we get to Changsha in a little bit. And so a lot of these battles are just going to be all out and hope things go well. Got a 4 tactical point gain there. That's not bad. Yeah, having Lu Bu in your party here helps dramatically. And if you don't get the gold key, you don't have Lu Bu or Guanping, and there's simply not another general in this game this early that can help you out. Now, we bought a couple of items called smoke pots that will prevent random encounters. So we bought a couple of them to use at some spots where random encounters can be particularly problematic. Hope to get all the way through this without any problems, but obviously we just had a nice encounter there. Fortunately got away, not too much trouble. Now this specific battle is the one that we purchased the armor for, because if you don't, pretty much guaranteed 1 or 2 people are going to die in this if you just all out. If you're going to even be successful, and you'll very often just wipe completely. But if you buy a little bit of armor, the hits go down a little bit, and it's not so bad. But these are the strongest generals, other than Lu Bu, we have faced so far. And so they can hit hard. And ideally, your generals will get them under 100 quickly, but well, he did lose somebody still. Let's bring him back. think we should be okay here. It's unfortunate because this, where this battle happens, you very frequently lose generals and need to resurrect them, and this is one of the 3 towns in the game that does not actually sell resurrects. So if you didn't bring some with you, you are in a bad shape here. Fortunately, we restocked on those. Now these are a bunch of kind of nobodies again that we just have to take our time to break through. And now, once you've gotten through these guys, you go level. So, there is a, as I've mentioned multiple times, you only gain tactical points on a level in which someone in your party learns a tactic. Well, we'll do a couple of things to make sure that happens in a lot of scenarios. But there is this magic level 12 here, where you would learn Fubing. And it had kind of been the, I guess I'd say, white whale of the community for 20 years, because the only general that's smart enough to learn Fubing at level 12, that up to this point in the game, is Liu Bei. So if you wanted to learn that tactic, get the tactical points for that, you needed to grind to level 12 at that very starting area of the game, which took a really long time. There is another general that's smart enough to learn it, but you get him immediately after the battle that takes you to level 12. However, once the extermination glitch, for the Yellow Scar's extermination glitch that we did at the very beginning of the game, was found, it reduced the amount of experience we got enough that there is a possibility that we won't hit level 12 when we finish that battle. The number of soldiers that the rebel forces have with the generals at these set battles is random, and the value they have affects how much experience you get. So there is a random amount of experience you are getting from these battles within a certain range. And it is a very, very tight window where you can get level 12, or avoid getting level 12 at that battle and be able to get the tactical points from level 12 by getting the other general before you get there. So we're going to hope for that here. We'll find out. It'll be the battle after this one coming up. Now this battle has an interesting mechanic in it, in that when you are fighting at castles or fortresses, they all have these hidden defense values that basically, increase the absorb of the the generals there, so you do less damage on them. Well, there's something mentioned in one of the towns we've come up to at this point that the west gate is under construction or something like that. And so if you come into this battle from the west side, this castle from the west side, then you will not have, or then they will not have any of the castle-related defense that they ordinarily have. So you can do a lot more damage. We are continue to have good marathon luck here. Alright, we'll take it here. So now, we've defeated Wanshu, and he tries to run away. And we're having none of that. And he's saying, let me go, I'm the Emperor, you shouldn't defy me. And you continue to say no, and no, and no, and no. And eventually you execute him, and peace is returned. Huzzah! We're going to go to the inn here. Now, up to this point, all of the hidden items we have found have been, in pot, or around them, places you'd think to look. This one, we're about to find a hidden item, which is by far the best thing you could find at this point in the game, in a place and just a random location. And that happens a few times that you wouldn't know about unless, unless you just happen to cross it, or happen to just start check every spot. One resurrect. So, this area right back here, you get this item called the Trident, which is several times stronger than anything you've seen up to this point. And so, if you find it, it makes your life a lot easier. So we're going to do a little bit of passing around of weapons. You're going to buy a touch more armor. Buy some helmets for several of our party members. Well, helmets, hoods. Just hoods, they're pretty sturdy. They give you a pretty nice boost in defense for, what you'd assume was just cloth. Now we need to do all of this inventory management before we move on, because as soon as we step out of here, we will have an unfortunate encounter come out. And now this is Wanshu's brother, Wan Chao, and I'm going to kill you. And then Lu Bu decides to defect and join them instead. And then they surprise us and start hitting us.
Their numbers are a lot bigger than yours.
They are a lot bigger. And I've talked about the number of digits mattering. Well, now we've gotten the 4 digits here, so they're going to hit even harder because of those big numbers. So they come, beat us up, and then say, go away. So now, of course, we've got to go on and deal with him. So now we're going to head off this direction to this place. In our chase of Wan Chao. And this is the battle that we're going to hope we don't gain a level after. That's just the one that, if we don't gain a level, we can get tactical points on the Fu Bing level. Otherwise, we're going to be down 3 to 5 at the end of the game. Alright, so I'll change my order real fast. Alright. You will see when Zheng Fei swings just quite how powerful this trident is. As he's now doing 200 damage, whereas people were doing, in double digits beforehand. So we're going to try to all out here and see what happens. Top priority when you go into this battle is getting Lu Guang under 1,000 soldiers. Now, in an ideal world, both Hu and Lu Feng die here. If they don't, it's no big deal. Although, having just Hu die is not what you want to see. And we just gained a level there. So unfortunately, we didn't get our Fu Bing level. So now we lie to this guy and say, hey, we saw that cave over there that was blocked by debris, but we haven't actually gone to that cave yet. They gave us some gunpowder, which we're going to need. So, if you try to go a little further north in that town, you come across a bridge, and there's this lady standing in front of the bridge, just going, "Shuju, my love, where are you?" And she won't move. So you got to find this guy just to get her to move. Meanwhile, we come across this guy in the cave who looks like he's going to fight you, and then decides not to, and wants to join you instead. And we're going to hand all of Lu Feng's gear over to him, because he is better. Well, almost all of it. Lu Feng will not be with our party for much longer. Alright, so we're going to move a little further into the cave here. We're going to take a couple of battles. This is one of the few places where we want to grind a little bit of extra experience. Most of the time you don't want to, because you're, routing where you want to make sure you gain levels at certain places so you can get the tactical points you want, etc. But here we actually want to learn a tactic before too long. Okay, so you'll notice all of a sudden our bars turned yellow and got really small. That's because Jotsong up there at the top has over 500 soldiers, and once that happens, we change colors, and now each pixel represents a different number of soldiers. And so that shrinks dramatically. So now we're going to... We're going to make this Shuja here the strategist. And now if we go to the town, that lady will move out of our way in the bridge. However, we're not going to go that direction quite yet. This is the one point in the game where you basically have two decisions on what to do. It splits in multiple directions. We can go south to... we can go south to Jingzhou, or we can go east to Jizhou. And the game, I think, intends for you to go east, because the generals there are a little bit easier, and they make a really nasty roadblock battle going south to prevent you going that way fast, or that quickly. However, this is a speed run, and we're not going to be deterred by that. So, we're going to go south here. So we dropped off Lu Feng and Hu. This is again because we want Shuja in. We actually want Shuja in our party, and so we need, in order for him to be, we need either him to be the strategist with only 5 people, or we want Hu to be the strategist. However, because we let Hu die, he can't be the strategist. Now, this is a hero run unlike any right there. That's not actually what we wanted here, because, again, we were trying to grind a little bit to get soldiers. That's the kind of grind you would give anything, or run you'd give anything for at any other point in this game. But naturally, that's, how things go. Hey, we got away without anybody dying. That's impressive with that. So we're not actually gaining the level we want to gain here, but we'll deal with that in a minute. So we're gonna go buy another Resurrect real fast. He's got one, but I want him to have one. You'll notice again that I moved Chituma around so that, because Shuja has the fastest, there's the fastest general we have, and we want to use him to heal our guys so that are in battle and be able to get them healed before somebody comes along and finishes them off. So now we're actually going to have to do a touch of dedicated grinding because we didn't have any encounters on our way.
Is now a good time to read some donations then?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Awesome. So we got $5 from Nooster saying, let's find out if this is a lemur, because lemur is better than monkeys. So a bit of a debate as to what one of the races of one of the monkeys is, or characters, sorry, whether from Super Monkey Ball, whether it's a lemur or a monkey. So hopefully we'll find out. We also got $25 from someone whose name I'm going to butcher. Let's see if we can get it. Your Signed Ashore said, it is nice to see a community come together and support causes that have affect others in the community. You are doing great, Thilo. Good luck with the rest of the run. And lastly, we got $50 from Taz Virus saying, great run, Thilotilo. You are a giant cowboy riding a red-skinned eagle. I'm sure that makes sense to somebody.
Well, so, Urson, it would be my lovely wife, and Taz Virus would be my oldest brother, and I am a very big Dallas Cowboys fan, and given the other opponents in the Cowboys division are the Giants, Redskins, and Eagles. That would be the hidden message inside of that particular one.
It's beautiful. I love the sibling love / sibling rivalry.
Yeah, well, this game is a really big one for just for my family. My brothers and I grew up playing this and just always talk about this game a lot. So this is a pretty big deal for me to get a chance to start running. So now we've come to this castle here, and it is nasty. This is the hardest battle by far up to this point, and casually you grind a long time before you get to this, before you want to take this one on. As we mentioned, we have these guys who have 4-digit soldiers, so they're doing a lot more damage. This Huangzhang here has an AoE fire tactic, which can be very, very obnoxious to deal with. And so they hit hard. They're also very, very strong stats-wise. So you'll see the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to divide up my attack so I can get both these guys in the middle down below 1,000. So they're going to do half the damage. Now we're going to focus fire on Huangzhang here so that he doesn't... doesn't get a chance to do his AoE tactic again. I did pick up, and I didn't really talk about it, in the last time I picked up a bow, which is one of the couple of weapons in the game that will actually attack twice per turn. And so we're going to use it here, and he's going to hit the second time, and didn't actually finish him off, which is unusual. But while they're finishing him off, whoops, I'm going to get rid of Wei Yan here. Now these two generals are the best generals we have seen in a long time, and we want to get rid of them quickly. The reason we wanted to grind is specifically for this healing tactic that we're using to recover everybody's soldiers, because the one we had wasn't going to do enough to be worth anything. Gonna finish this guy off, and then we're gonna hopefully get through the next, or get Shuja to heal up Jotsung here before it starts. I will mention, I haven't really said anything about it yet. There is an item called a power pill that will automatically, or that guarantees you a critical hit. And so we make use of that. The interesting thing about this game, in terms of the damage formula, is that for any given, or when you attack, there's only 4 possible values that are going to be rolled. Just the way the RNG works out. It's and so a critical hit will always be the exact same value for the given combination of soldiers, weapon, etc. Now we just finished this castle off, and now Hongzhang and Wei Yan, those 2 generals we were desperate to get rid of, both say they want to join us now, and that's a really good thing because, as we just remembered, we saw them. They were very nasty guys on the other end. I have not mentioned up to this point the concept of tigers. In this game, there are a few generals that are called tigers, and they're the ones that gain soldiers each level. Everybody else has a certain number of soldiers, and they stay there. As you may have noticed, Guan Yu and Zheng Fei have been gaining soldiers as we've been going on, but the others have not. And because they are 2 of the tigers. Now, Hongzhang is another one of the tigers. And so you will see that he will not have as many soldiers as he did as an enemy, because he is now at the number of soldiers that our level would indicate he should be at. But he will eventually have much more than what he had, so it works out. Okay. Alright, so we just bought a helmet that's going to last us for a very, very long time in this game. And now we're going to find a hidden sword here. So sword is a very overpowered weapon as well. You... Oops. Some more inventory management here. You do that. She to not you. Without you. So yeah, so now our team is very overpowered, and the game had been treating us pretty roughly up to this point, and this is the point where it goes, okay, I'm sorry for treating you so badly. How would you feel if you could just wreck everything? And that's what we're about to do. It is again, we're not supposed to go south first, and so because we did, we're already getting better gear than we would have, and then the hidden items specifically, which are the swords and the bow, are extremely overpowered for this point in the game, and so now we can just kind of mow through everything. You won't see us in any danger for a little while. So it's kind of the game rewarding you for all of your hard work up to that point. Now we're here, we're going to buy a bunch of gold wing. Gold wings are, as you might imagine, it's, the wing of the wyvern kind of equivalent, where you get to go around from one town to another, quickly, because obviously it takes some time, you have to deal with encounters and all that fun stuff otherwise. So we're going to buy a bunch of these right now to deal with moving around, because we are going to have a fetch quest before long that's going to require quite a few of these. So we're going to buy 12 of them. And now we're going to move on to the next castle as we continue on our little journey here. I always check to make sure I went to the inn after I leave the castle, because inevitably I always forget. And we come to this place, which oddly enough we didn't have to fight a battle when we first showed up, which is unusual. Since most of these castles, obviously, you have a battle as soon as you walk in, or try to walk in. But these guys are in front of the towns, and we come here, and there's somebody sitting on the throne here, and he's like, "Oh, you've done well, let me show you your sleeping quarters." If you agree to that, they will beat you up, drop your soldiers dramatically, and then you'll fight this battle. or you can just decline, and they will, come in and, you get to fight them, but you get to fight them with full soldiers. So with Wayon having a sword, over 200 strength, which is very good, and 4-digit soldiers, you will see opponent soldiers just suddenly drop at times, like that. Because he does a lot of damage. Now, Zheng Fei has got 250 attack power, and a sword as well, so he hits pretty hard, but he doesn't quite have he doesn't have the soldiers to make it quite as nice. So now these guys are willing to move out from in front of the buildings, so we can go to an inn. We can go buy a few more smoke pots to prevent us from having any extra encounters we don't want. We'll move out of the way, and we can do a quick safety save. And then we're going to go to the quick safety save, because it would be very unfortunate if we crash now. Alright, so now we're going to wander off. We are going to take a couple of battles here, because we just need a little bit more experience to gain the level we want shortly. But of course I'm going to get a hero run, because that is how these things work. You can also see these random battles don't take very long, because we are now one-shotting almost everything. Part of the mowing through everyone I was referring to earlier. To answer the question in chat about brigands and bandits, they are essentially the exact same thing. In this game, it's whether you run into a brigand, a bandit, or I believe a pirate is all based upon where you are on the map. But they have the same random stat per zone, and they have the same run rate. Rebel forces have a little bit better stats and a little bit worse run rate. Aw, we lost someone. That's unfortunate. Alright, so now we're going to go over to this, go in this little hidden area over here. There's going to be this man here that says, hey, check the area around me. And if you do, you find a sword. Which, again, very nice weapon. So we're going to give that to Guan Yu here. And we're going to pass this bow over here to Zhetan. Give ourselves a little more firepower even still. We're going to bring Hong Zheng back, and whoops. There we go. Bring him back, and then we are going to go back to Nanyang to start our way east. Before we walk out of here, though, there is this man over here, which suspiciously happens to have a key that he just knows we're going to have use for later. And so we're going to go purchase for him. It's very expensive. So again, if you decide to go east first, you'll have to do some grinding just to get the gold in order to buy that. So now we're going to come back this direction that we went before. And we're going to use those smoke pots. And we're going to come into this town, and there's this lady I was talking about that was blocking the bridge. Well, now we have Shujia, and so she says, okay, go on across. And we can go across. Now, from this point on, if we walk into this town, we we can walk in and out of it and don't have to walk all the way across the bridge to move on. But that trigger has to happen first. Come to this place now. Winhan and Yanliang are the toughest generals in this zone, and so this battle is just like the other one with Huangzhong and Weian, a battle that just gives you nightmares. But given that we are so overpowered now, we just run through it. We come here, we use this key that again that other man knew just happened to have to sell us for a high markup. And so now she says, okay, you've rescued me now, take this letter to let my brother know I'm safe. So, we move on a little bit further. And we come into this town, which is being currently blocked by Jiayun here, who says, I don't want to have to fight you, go away. And so you tell him his sister's free, and he wants to defect and join you. We'll see him shortly. Meanwhile, we're going to come in and continue our tour of decimation. We're going to learn one of the best tactics in the game right here in the Yinxian tactic, which is an AoE healing tactic. We're not even going to waste time going to the inn there because we have an AoE healing tactic now. So we're going to continue on our way and we'll deal with healing shortly. It's interesting, all these generals actually have, like, roles in the actual story, and they're just kind of little bit parts here. So, except for a few of them. So now here at Wanshao, and as, you know, since he did defect, we have Lu Bu here, who continues to magically gain soldiers. We are going to use Fubing here, which is one of the 2 times in this game we're going to use that. Fubing allows you to actually get extra supporters, and basically gives you an extra hit that's slightly reduced in damage. One thing to mention about Wei Yan is with giving him Chi Tu Ma, he has a maxed out agility. Now that doesn't guarantee he's going to go first, but it gives him a very high probability of going first. So he's very good to get off that tactic you need to get off first, such as the healing tactic. We're going to go use this to Fubing and our weapons to finish off Lu Bu here. Because he still hits super hard, even with all of our power. And then we just kind of demolish the rest of everything. Now we got rid of Shao. Peace settles over the land. You know, as will happen several times and then unhappen again. We'll go to the inn here, and then we will find a weapon that I found out existed like 3 weeks ago. This is the most hidden item of hidden items. It just happens to be lying here in front of this house. By that, then we are going to do some menuing here, buy some extra smoke pots and power pills. So if you have anything to share with us, Natara, it's be a great time.
Currently, no, we don't have any donations, though we do still have that open bid war as to the character that we will send to has as the main character for Super Monkey Ball 2, which is the next run. Just updating the totals here, but I do believe Baby is still in the lead with $130. Gong Gong is shortly behind with $120. Mimi is also shortly behind with $105, and I is $25. So still not a good chance of finding out whether that character is in fact a lemur or a monkey. However, any sort of donation could easily put Gong Gong or Mimi in the lead over Baby. So I don't know about you. I don't have any idea about any of these characters, but I'm sure some of you folks do and have opinions about it. So send in your donations with those opinions. We definitely want to hear it. Just to remind you, we are doing this marathon for the Spondylitis Association of America in honor of one of our community members who passed last year from spondylitis complications. So anything you can donate towards that would be incredibly helpful. We're almost at $3,000, which is just blown all of us away for a weekend marathon that we put off during these really trying times. So thank you so much to everyone for your absolute generosity, and I hope you're enjoying Thilotilo's run currently. I know I am. I've never seen this game before, and it's excellent.
And thank you, everybody, for all the donations. This is just absolutely amazing. So we're actually going to, I did this wrong order, we're going to do a little, I don't know if you want to call it a glitch, that I just learned about from ACMLM a couple of days ago. But we tried to invite him here, tried to invite Liu Bei here, and instead he said he's heading to Guiyang, which is a different place. Well, it turns out that when he says that, he goes ahead and invites him to Guiyang, so now we're where we wanted to be rather than having to go wing and walk there. And so we come here, immediately talk to Liu Bei, and he gets a letter saying that Shuja's mother is sick, so she has to go and run, or he has to go lead our party. Now, what he tells us, if we leave, he'll be waiting for us kind of in front of the castle, and he'll tell us, hey, you should go find this guy named Zhuge Liang. He's very... you should go and make him your strategist. So we're going to go head off and try to go get him in our party. So we head over to his house right here. And we go and talk to his brother here. And he's like, hey, he's not home. He might be in the house of Cui Ping in Lusong Village. So Lusong Village happens to be the place where you very first started the game. Which, of course, is one of the reasons we have the Gull Wings now. But before we do that, we're going to go pick up this guy. His name is Ma Liang. He's going to make... he's going to have some use later on in the game. We're just going to pick him up for now. And then we're going to head back to the very beginning of the game, and to the very beginning village of the game. Now, if you go here at the very beginning of the game, you get this guy here who says this Cui Ping is never home. But at this particular spot of the game, he is here. And he says, oh, Zhuge Liang, he was here, but he left. So we head back and wander back to his house again to finally find him. Make our way through all this familiar terrain. You'll also notice, as soon as we lost Shuja, the music changed. So now we have a different overworld music. And you can hear, hey, my brother was here, but he already left and went out again. If he comes back, I'll call on you at Nanyang Castle. Alright? So let's head back to Nanyang. And we go... invite Liu Bei. And go check out, or go talk to him. And he says... Zhuge Jin came here and said, hey, Zhuge Liang's home. So we're going to make this journey again. And this is why we wanted all of those gold wings. He's here. So it says he's here. Do you wake him up? If you say you wake him up, he yells at you, "Is there a fire or something?" "No, then leave me alone." If you say you're not going to wake him up and then immediately press a button afterwards, he's like, "Hey, I'll talk to you after I wake up." But if you wait for a long time, he'll wake up and be like, "Hey, I'm sorry to keep you guys waiting." Nice, this is going to Guiyang to renew some acquaintances. So we're gonna go make our way to that general vicinity. First, we're gonna do a quick stop off over here to change some characters around. We're going to drop off Jutsun here, and we're going to pick up Jayun, who is the guy we found earlier, whose sister we rescued. He's another one of the tigers, and he will be with us in our final party. We're also going to get rid of this Maliang that we picked up, because we're going to replace him with Zhuge who we're about going to go visit in this next castle down here. So we're coming here. Now we've got him, and as far as, you know, at this point, that's the end of the story. Except, you talk to him, and he says, on the way here, he ran into his friend Zhang Song, who told him the cities in Shu are being raided by rebels and threatening Lu Jiang, who is Liu Bei's relative, is, threatening the area, so you need to go help him out. So, alright, fine. Now, we keep Guanping here in our party. He will never be seen in battle or anything like that again, but we need a 7th person just to hold, all of our gear, all of our gold wings, all of our everything like that, and we need someone to put in the 7th slot so we don't have a tactician there. And so that's what his job in this for this particular stretch of the game is going to be. Is just be someone who can hold items that we can use, and who can prevent, while preventing us from having a tactician in the back slot, to prevent us from activating that 7th slot glitch that I mentioned earlier. We did most of our menuing here earlier, in the other towns, so there's not a lot to do here. Gotta get one more you, and then buy 3 power pills for Wei Yan, and then we can be on our way. We are going to, just one more time, do a safety save, because we won't have the opportunity for a little while. So, now we have Zhuge Liang, who is the best strategist in the game, and can learn some tactics that only he can learn. And including a healing tactic that is incredibly overpowered in this game. Yeah, okay. So I wanted to make sure I hit level 17, because I learned a tactic called Zero, which is going to be incredibly important at this point in the game. It halves the damage that generals do to you. First thing we're going to do here is go into Shu and wander around, because we're going to see a familiar face in a minute here. First, you'll see these, even these rebel forces have a lot of soldiers. The difficulty spike once you cross this bridge is dramatic. We need to keep searching. Said we'll see a familiar face, but first we're going to find more rebel forces. Whether or not you encounter a battle with a general or not, it's still random, but the first battle with the general is the one we're looking for. Usually it doesn't take 4 battles, but we're in a marathon, so of course. There's our friendly Lu Bu that we've seen so many times. So we're going to get Wei Yan to use Zero, which again is that tactic that reduces everything by half, and that's why we need to have it by now, because otherwise this Lu Bu will hurt really bad. He already still hits hard. This is the only other time we'll use Fu Bing because we're about to lose it. It's going to get replaced with another tactic. We're going to make use of it here. And now that we've decreased the damage he can do to us by half, we will let the subsequent battle go all out after this and finish the next battle off, or finish this battle off, hopefully without any casualties. And he says, my life comes to an end, my life was an essay in betrayal. And that is the last we will see of Lubu, finally. And we're going to learn the Beiji tactic here, which was replacing Fu Bing and will double the damage of the general that it is used on. So it's very valuable and will make use all the way through the end of the game. So, while I'm wandering into Shu here, I'll discuss tactics for a few minutes. The tactics you learn are based upon... the tactics a general can learn is based upon his intelligence. Different generals will have different tactic sets based upon their intelligence and based upon their level. That Beiji tactic that we just learned, there's only a select few generals in the game who can learn it because it requires 240 intelligence to learn, and there's a very select few generals that have that much intelligence. Zhuge Liang is maxed out at 255, so he can learn it, but most generals cannot. So again, it's very important to have him on your team by the time you hit level 18, or else you're not going to learn that tactic. There's 6 different groups of tactics. There's a fire tactic, a water tactic, a healing tactic, and then 3 status tactics. And each one of those has 5 different tactics in their 5 different tactics can be in that slot. And has 5 different tactics that can be in that slot, and they're subsequently better, but the intelligence required to use them is higher, and so the better tactics can only be used by a select few generals. And so so you need to have generals of higher intelligence to learn most of those. However, there is also a priority level with these tactics. And so a tactic that you learn, usually when you learn a tactic later, it will replace the one you learned at a previous level in that slot. However, there is a priority level which matters for exactly one slot, and that is the slot that has Beiji. Because Beiji has the highest priority, which means that there are going to be 2, but it's only the 3rd tactic that we can learn in that slot. What that means is the next 2 tactics that can be learned in that slot will not be learned by anyone who already has Beiji. So, Zhuge Liang will not learn the next 2 tactics in that slot. Why is that relevant? Well, because, as we mentioned before, the level you learn a tactic at is the only ones you gain soldiers. So we need someone around to learn that next tactic when we hit that level, which will be level 20, because Zhuge Liang will not learn it, and otherwise we wouldn't gain any tactical points. So very shortly we're going to be exchanging Guan Ping for Ma Liang, which, we picked up earlier, because he is not smart enough to learn Beiji, and so he will in turn learn Li Jian, which is the tactic there, and we will get tactic points for that level. We'll also make use of him again later to learn the last tactic of that group, which we will discuss when it happens, because it is something to behold. So this one, we just fight the battles. Again, these guys hit so hard at this in this zone that we have to use Giro at the beginning of almost every battle we fight in this entire area. So we always have to start off, even against the weaker guys like these, have to start off with a turn where we use Giro. So we're going to hit level 19 here. And now we're going to fight this guy. Now this one has an interesting component to it, because ordinarily you will go for the guys that have... You will want to attack the guys that have the highest strength, because they'll do the most damage when they attack. However, this guy right here, Fa Jing, is one of the few tactics you'll face in the game that, when it matters, that has the tactic Jitsa, which will negate any status tactics that you have used. Which means that Beiji, which I just used there, but more importantly, Giro, will go away, and all of a sudden everybody else will be hitting like a truck. So we focus our fire on him instead to prevent that tactic from being used, because we can kind of absorb the blows of these guys the rest of the way. But the initial but at full strength, they will hurt us way too badly. Alright, so now we've come here. And as I mentioned, at this point we are going to drop off Guan Ping and replace him with Ma Liang. Specifically to learn this tactic. Now, again, we still have to take the 7th slot glitch into account, but the reason we have Ma Liang in the first place is because Zhuge Liang will not learn a tactic at the next level, so we can safely put him in the 7th slot for the next level. Now we're going to come into this dungeon, and we're going to find this little door here. And on the other end of it is Lu Jing, who's the governor, so he's been captured and put behind these bars, so it looks like. Now, if you ever played this game casually, that single spot was as much of a point of consternation as anything, because you can't just hold up on that gate. You have to mash up. Hit up, let go of up, hit up, let go of up, to make the gate break. And so I've sat there when I was a kid holding it for 15 minutes, waiting for it to break, just thinking it was random, and I was just really unlucky. So it's... Of course, now once you start mashing, it's real easy. So, anyway, we go there, and Lu Jing tells us, hey, go off, and if we talk to him after we broke him open, he'd have us continue on our merry way to save Shu. And now we come up to what is another one of the big roadblock battles that you would fight going through this casually. So, Ma Liang learned the Li Jian tactic. We won't gain a tactic at this level, so it doesn't matter. We're going to get Ma Chao, Ma Dai, and Peng De. And Peng De is actually the major problem here, because he's the first one in the game to have the tactic Jimian, which will be an absolute pain to deal with later. Because what does Jimian do? It completely nullifies physical attacks. You will do no damage. And it's just a random chance. See, he just used it right there. So now when I'm going to attack, absolutely nothing's going to happen. I'm going to have wasted the 2 power pills that I just used. And no damage will be taken. So now we just get to defend this turn while they start unloading on us, because we can't do anything until it wears off. It has flat 3/8 chance of wearing off at the end of each turn. So it's not really a high odds chance of wearing off either. But Just I want to use that. But until it wears off, you're pretty much just hosed and have to just wait there until it comes back, or until you have to just wait there until it wears off. Now, what I'll often do is just all out until I start saying I'm giving them damage again, because it wore off at that point. But that in and of itself is fraught with danger. And now I'm going to use a power pill to do this 1 damage. But usually okay to all out from here. Might pull back and use one more healing tactic. What's going to be nice is after we finish off this battle, Ma Chao and Ma Dai are going to want to join us. Now, we're seeing the soldiers that these guys have. Ma Chao is another one of the tigers, so he won't have as many soldiers when we get him. But Ma Dai is not, and he will have these 3,100 soldiers, which makes him incredibly valuable because he can absorb a lot of damage. So... So, our first step after going to the inn is going to be to bring those people and put them in our party. So, we're going to bid goodbye to Huangzong. Even though he is one of the tigers, he is not going to be valuable enough to us for the rest of the game. So, we are going to drop him off, and we are going to pick up this Ma Dai guy, who has got a lot more soldiers and almost as much strength. And then we are going to get rid of Wei Yan, kind of. We are going to... I'm doing it like this because when you drop someone and you pick up someone else in that slot, they will then have the gear and equipment that the other person had. So I want to give all of Wei Yan's gear to Ma Chao. And so that's why I drop him and then pick him back up, because I'm doing a gear swap there. So, now we've got all these new guys. And then the last thing is yet another hidden item, which is a battle axe, which is significantly more powerful than a sword, and especially more powerful than the bow that he has right now. So now, we are going to make sure... Okay. We're going to head our way through what is this, Mount Gangtai? We're going to find a specific item here, which is an iron ore. And it is a story item. And it is, in my experience, the one that most frequently seems to disappear when the 7th slot glitch hits. But since we're not letting that happen, I'm just going to pick it up, and then we're going to gullwing. Unlike most games, you can gullwing out of caves. So, we're just going to gullwing back out and go the other way through this place that actually takes us off to the other side. Now, this particular tile set does not have safe squares, so we can't make use of the shadows as well. There are certain floors on this cave that do, but that particular tile set did not. I'll say you'll notice I leave Zheng Fei at the bottom of my party a lot, even though he has the most soldiers of anybody other than Ma Dai. And the reason for that is because he will stay over 4 digits the longest. And so I want him, because he's strong, and I want him to stay over 4 digits because he will do so much more damage when his attack power is at 4 digits. So I actually want him to keep him at the back to do less damage, because it does favor the people in the front of your party over the people in the back of your party. in general. And now we are going to get another battle axe. We are going to hand over to Jayun. Not Jayun. That's what I wanted to. Supposed to be Junfei. And increase his strength again. Again, we do that because he's got the four-digit soldiers, so upping his is more important than upping Jayun's weapon to be significantly better. So here's one we're going to have to pull off a turn where we just do it Zero and Xian. This is not a particularly nasty battle, but again, people still do hit hard and we don't have a lot of soldiers. So we do want to limit the amount of damage they're going to do per hit. So we stop to take one turn to get ourselves back in good position and move on. Interestingly enough, the 7th slot glitch will also can also put the same reason it can take open chests. It can also close chests, so you could actually get like 2 Chitumas or multiple copies of one of the better weapons or something like that. But it's not really possible to manipulate in a way that would be feasible for a speedrun, so we don't do that. All right, and now after all this. This Liu Zhang that we were supposed to be helping out turns out to have been a major culprit in the whole uprising in the first place, and this whole thing was kind of a ruse. So now we get to finish them off. And what we're going to do here, for a battle that looks so nasty, it's actually, all these generals are really bad. So it's a pretty easy one to go through. I did forget to heal, so we might lose someone, but that's okay. Especially if it's Guan Yu. Alright. So we have now liberated the area of Shu. And somehow a smoke pot down, so let me go fix that real fast. Alright, so now we're going to head back a little bit before we go and deal with anything in Chengdu, which is where we just finished off Liu Zhang. Because there's this little hut back here that has a guy who's basically a blacksmith, or weaponsmith. So if you bring him that iron ore you found, he will say, oh, okay, well then I'll make you some swords. So you take a step out, come back in, and he made those swords, and somehow brigands have come and, or yellow scarves have come and stolen them in the few seconds it took you to do that. Now, the story trigger for them to be made, or to be made and be taken away, was clearing this town. So that's why we do it then. So now we are going to go through, and we are going to we're going to upgrade our gear dramatically, buy some more gold wings for the second part of the game, and yeah, that'll take a little while. So if you have anything for us, Natara, this would be a great time.
Absolutely. Just want to remind everyone why we're here. We are currently fundraising in order to benefit the Spondylitis Association of America. For those who aren't aware, we did have a community member, Dr. D, who passed away last year due to complications related to his spondylitis. So while we fundraised to help his family last year, we decided to carry on and make it a tradition, and this time actually fundraise for the association. So we've already far bypassed what we were thinking we would make on this marathon, and for that, thank you so much. I'm sure anyone else who's still suffering from spondylitis will appreciate that help. And we do still have a bid war open as to which of the 4 characters will be used in Super Monkey Ball 2. Currently, Baby is in the lead with $130. Gong Gong is second with $120. Mimi, I've been told the only female character, is $105. And lastly, Ai, who we have determined is not a lemur, is at $20. So you have until the end of this run, Destiny of an Emperor, in order to tip the scales there and maybe make a different monkey rather than Baby to be the winning one. That'll be Sonic Wrath 11 running that. So I definitely encourage you to do that. If we could make 3,000 by the end of this marathon, that would just be so amazing and special, and such an amazing way to commemorate all the good, amazing work that Dr. D brought to the speedrunning community as just a positive source of everything. So definitely look out for that, and for now, let's go back to the run.
Thank you, Natara, and I'll just say I never got the pleasure to know Dr. Degenerator, but I have heard many people talk about the stories of the way he encouraged them and just built them up when they didn't, especially when they didn't have much of a following or anything, and he just sounded like one amazing guy. So I'm glad I'm able to at least be a part of this here, even if I didn't get the opportunity to know him. So, I'm going to do a little bit of inventory management, because we're about to have my least favorite part of the game is about to happen, or at least casually, which is we're going to have to say goodbye to some of our characters. And so, let's bring Lube here. Bring him in. And since we're already at one of these places, let's save our game. And so we're going to come here, and now that we've got Shu, basically, Liu is going to say, this area is too big for me to govern on my own. So now, Zheng Fei and Guan Yu, I want you guys, so we've got rulers in Shu, Wu, and Wei, and everything's peaceful, and now I need you, Guan Yu, and Zheng Fei to help me keep Jingzhou safe. And so, Guan Yu and Zheng Fei leave our party to go help take care of ruling. Just sad, because they're really good characters. And all of a sudden we find out the leader of Wei, Cao Cao, took ill and died, and then Sun Tse of Wu died, and now all of a sudden Wu is attacking Guan Yu and Zheng Fei, and so now we're back at war, and so we're going to have to go rescue them. So we come to Changsha and go see Guan Yu sitting there on the throne, and Kotok and his son says, hey, I want to join and help out. So we pick up his son, who is both weaker and dumber. A major drop-off in value, but nonetheless. He's still a tiger, will still gain soldiers and whatnot, and he's fast. as well, so we like using him for... We gave him Chichuma, and we'll often use him as a person to get that first attack in. So then we come to Changsha, and we go see Zheng Fei here, from there, and talk and find out his son, Zheng Bao, is going to come join us. Zheng Bao is weaker than his father, but significantly smarter. And again, smarts matters in terms of these particular generals, mostly because it makes them less susceptible to tactics. They're not going to be using any tactics. Well, for the most part, aren't going to be using any tactics. But they will be... but they will still have people target them with tactics, and we don't want those to land. So now what's happened is Wu's come and attacked, and they've taken control of some of these castles that that used to be under our control. So we're going to have to go back and go rescue these people. So we're going to use Guanxing here to get that defensive tactic up, and everybody else is going to use Beiji to double their own attacks. And then that's all we need to really make these battles safe. They're not exceptionally dangerous. I will say, as people are talking about playing this game as a kid, I was mentioning it earlier about something my brothers and I played. If you remember at the very beginning of the game, or early on in the game, we used the gem sword to go get Lu Bu on our team. Well, that was a long time coming for us when we were children. That took a lot of effort to get through the yellow scarves and to get to that point to get him. And we were so excited. We saved our game, went to school the next day, came home, we're all talking with each other about, oh, we got Lu Bu, we're gonna use Lu Bu, whatever. And we got home and turned the game on, and our save file had gotten corrupted, and we had to start all over. It was very, very disappointing. And now we're gonna go. Actually, I want you to use the golden Changsha, and now we're gonna go the other way to Wuling, which oops. Of course. Run rate has nothing to do with your difference in soldiers or levels or anything like that. It's all a flat rate depending upon the battle. And so, even with weak ones, sometimes it's better just to take them out than it is to try to run from them and fail. So, we're going to do the exact same thing in this one that we did in the last one. And, fortunately, going first is not guaranteed, so Zero didn't come in until they took a nice shot on Zhang Bao, which means he's not going to do as much damage because he's now under 4 digits. Now he says, tell Liu Bei that Wei has an alliance with Wu. So now, not only are we being attacked by Wu, but we're finding out that there's an alliance between Wei and Wu, which are the other two major powerhouses in China here. And now we learned Wanfu, which is always a sad time. Wanfu is basically the heal-all equivalent. Use it and recover all your soldiers. However, it's not AoE. And, the AoE, I prefer the AoE, the weaker AoE tactic to that one. So we're going to go out here into Shu and fight a battle, and I'll explain that one in just a minute. Why we want to come out here and fight this battle. Whoops. No, we'll go ahead and fight the other one too. There is no relationship between this game and Dragon Quest, they just are very similar. Alright, so I need to buy some more smoke pots now to finish up the next little section. A couple of those. So the reason we are, we wanted to fight a battle here in Shu is because we are now powerful enough and our gear is good enough that we can pretty much handle our own against any battles we find in Shu. However, Wu is much nastier. And we're about to go into a cave. And as I mentioned a while back, in the cave glitch, the encounters you run into in the cave are based on the zone you last fought a battle in. So what happens here is we find out that Cao Pi in Wei and Sun Quan and Wu are both laying claim to the Emperor, and he thinks this is going to be the collapse of the Han Dynasty. And our party convinces him, hey, you need to declare yourself Emperor, you're different from these other two, they must be defeated and you can rule China properly. And so now Liu Bei is declaring himself Emperor in front of civil officers and now ready to send an army against Wu to take them on. So we are so now we are heading into Wu. And the other reason it matters to us what enemies are in this cave over here is because because we need to grind now. We're trying to grind to get to level 27 shortly. Because we're going to learn a very important tactic at level 27. And so we will have to stop and do a dedicated grind if we don't get the experience on the way. So we want to get the experience on the way, ideally. And Shu, because we can go through Shu enemies and there's no danger to them, we can just all out every time we run into someone, still get a good experience. If we fought Wu battles here, they would be better experience, but we'd have to run from a good portion of them because most generals would be way too dangerous for us right now. Also, looking at chat, touching on Wan Fu again, the heal all tactic it's nice. I mean, it can be nice in certain situations, but it's bad because it takes away your AoE heal. But at the same time, enemy generals have it, and they don't care as much about AoE heal. And if they have it, they recover all the damage you've done to them. And when you couple that with Ximian, where you can't do damage, it can end poorly sometimes. So we have to find ways to mitigate that. So I just picked up saltpeter, and we'll find out the use for that shortly. And we're going to wander our way back through the cave here, continuing to take battles. It's just important that I not pass 39,800 experience while I'm here. Usually that almost never happens, but we're actually getting a decent amount of experience so far, so I may have to stop grinding shortly. The reason for that is because at the next level up, we're going to lose Zero. And we really, really, really want to have that half damage for a battle in the future. So we need to make sure we don't get too much experience to level up and lose Zero. Right enough. So I'm actually going to stop right here so I don't pass that. And the good news is I have smoke pots, so I can just use those. So we are going to go on to this place, and now in Wu. We have a large number of generals who have Jimian, and so we will continue to be frustrated by that throughout the course of the remainder of this game. But this area of the game is where things can go badly really quickly. And apparently I forgot to get more power pills, so I'll have to do that shortly. But Lu Su here is capable of using Jimian, which will, again, cause us major consternation. And there's the Jimian. So now the other power pills are wasted. But it wore off, thankfully. I'm still going to go ahead and all out here and see what happens. Fortunately, Lu Su does not have Wanfu. So what happens is, you can see below this, there's a river that's completely in our way. And so we need to do something about that. Verify. I don't usually come into this shop. Make sure there's no power pills here before I go anywhere else. No. Okay. So we're going to go over to this tree. We're going to find some dead wood in front of it. Apparently wood that's aged 1,000 years. It's a lot of years. Or 2,000 years, I think. Which is a lot of years. But, we're going to talk to this guy, and he says, you want to know how to clog the canal? If you blast Mount Poyang with a special powder, and you just need to pick saltpeter, an old branch which lived over, I guess it's 1,000 years, and my sulfur. So, we found the dead wood, we found the saltpeter, and now we're bringing it to him, and he's going to clog the canal by blowing up a portion of Mount Poyang. Now, before we go any further, I'm going to make a trip to increase, or to, oh, I already went to the end, didn't I? Oh, whatever. I'm going to go, yeah, I need to go and get my power pills here. Because the next battle is what we generally call the Run Killer. As far as the battles in this game go, it is the one with the most potential for things to go wrong. And so I want to make sure that I am properly geared up for it. And we might see exactly why we want to grind to 27 at this next battle. Let's see. Trying to save suspense. But we're about to fight Zhou Yu, and he is someone who gave us nightmares casually, and he's someone that gives us nightmares in the speedrun as well. Alright. I'm gonna go back there. Fortunately, this is a spot we can go into. And now we get to have the fun battle with Zhou Yu. He gets a special sprite and everything. Or special... not special sprite, but a special portrait. Alright. So this is the battle we needed to make sure we kept 0 for. Because both Zhou and Kanze have a tactic that can do 1,000 damage to everybody. They also have tactics like Yishen, which means now we've got Madai and I guess Madai is distrusting his ally, so he's not doing anything this turn. Fortunately, we're getting lucky with what's happening so far. Zhou hasn't pulled out any of his really nasty tricks, which is really what we can hope for. But it's not over yet. He's very fast, and he has Jimian and Wanfu, and fortunately did not use it. Madai avoided the effect, so it's still not over because Kanze still has the tactic that can the AoE water down. But we're getting incredibly fortunate with this. This is the kind of battle you dream of when you're doing a PB kind of run. Is that one about as perfectly as you could dream it up? So he didn't seem that dangerous, but he had a tactic that you have not seen up to this point in the game and will not see again until we enter Wei. But we will be making use of it ourselves pretty soon. Oops. So, continuing to find hidden items. Now we're going to go back here and go to our inn. The RNG in this game is extraordinarily intricate, and is not something that will ever be able to be manipulated because of how intricate it is. And so it's very difficult to find anything consistent from one run to another or anything like that. But there is this one battle that shows up here in Wu that's got Han Dong in the first slot, Tai Shi in the second slot, and then 2 rebel forces. And it seems to show up every single run. So we just got that a second ago. So now what we're going to do is we're going to wander off to continue on. Lu Xun is a very, very dangerous general, and this is why we didn't grind in this area up to this point. We're traveling off to, not to get too confusing, but we're going off to fight, to go to the town of Wu, in the region of Wu. Wipe it wouldn't be the worst thing given. So now this is where having that AoE healing tactic that recovers 1,000 soldiers per would be really, really nice. But instead we're going to have to use 3 tactics to recover our soldiers here. And Wanfu also takes 10 tactical points apiece, so it's 10% of our tactical points total is being taken just healing my party back up right now. Whereas the AoE healing tactic also used 10, and we could have healed the whole group up for that. However, as I mentioned later in the game, Zhuge Liang will be the only general who can learn the last healing tactic, Jin Xian, which does about 4,000 to 5,000 soldiers recovery to everybody, and only costs 4 tactical points, so it's incredibly overpowered and incredibly valuable. Alright, so we're going to go take on Wu, and now, who is in front of Wu? But Zhuge Zhen, who is the brother of Zhuge Liang, who was the one who, we were interacting with earlier, in terms of when we were trying to find Zhuge Liang. So he has defected over here to Wu, and we are having to fight him now. And they don't really make any mention to it in the game. And so, which has always been interesting to me, that, you think, brother against brother kind of thing would be something that would make an appearance or a reference to somewhere in the game, but as far as I'm aware, it doesn't. Now he's gone. Now we learned Jimion for this, after the last one, so we have it for this battle. And what's nice about that is, while Juga Jin actually has some tactics that can be nasty, he has the same AoE damage tactics and Jimion. Everybody else in this battle doesn't even have a tactic, and so if you use Jimion, they are completely harmless. So we can finish them off without too much fuss. And now for another randomly located thing, which I also didn't know about until I started speedrunning this. Splendid him just lying here on the floor over by the inn. And there's going to be a crossbow hidden up here. Now, crossbow is the other weapon, not surprisingly, just like the bow, that attacks twice when you use it. So each attack is weaker than the other weapons we've got right now, but as a total, they each attack is weaker, but combined it does as much damage as any of the non-legendary weapons in the game. And by the legendary weapons, I mean the 5 weapons that were made by that blacksmith we talked to a while back. And then there is one more weapon called the halberd, which we will get later, which is also falls under that category. As you can see, these guys are hitting hard even at 4 soldiers, and some of them have, and now we're getting to soldiers that have 5 digits attack, or 5 digits, which of course means that the multiplier goes from 16 to 25. And this drives me nuts. This fire tactic here is not powerful at all, but it is an AoE, which means that it's a massive time loss when you're in battle mode. Rather than if you're an all-out, it doesn't take very long to do it. It's just a 5-second time loss, whatever, for every time it happens. Makes me sad. That's a battle I do not want to fight. These are some very, very nasty generals. But, fortunately, we got away. This is another general I cannot fight. And again, this is why we did that grinding using the shoe enemies earlier, is because this is because there's a lot of generals in this area that we simply cannot fight right now. Alright, so we've hit level 26. Now that we've hit level 26, we can go back and get our good friend Maliang. We had a long time ago to get the tactic at level 20, well now we get the tactic at level 27 that Juga Liang will not learn as well, so we want to have Maliang not just to learn it, but also so we can make use of it. So we're going to say goodbye to Wei Yan for the remainder of the run, but before we do that, that crash I was talking about, that can randomly happen, I've seen it more times when I was doing billeting than anything else, so before I exchange party members, I am going to save the game. And now we're going to drop off Wei Yan. And we are going to get Molly on here. We're going to put him in 6th, then we're going to let Jugliangs take the back slot, because, as mentioned before, since Julian's not learning the tactic at level 27, it's okay to put him in the back for this one level. And it happens to be that the last tactic Malion will ever be able to learn will be level 27. And so, once that happens, we can leave him in the back of the party and there's absolutely no risk of the glitch the rest of the run. So we can finally stop worrying about that. Malion is someone, if we could kill off really early on, you can carry him around a whole lot, you can avoid... There's some things you could do to speed some time up that I'm still trying to work through, but getting him killed off can be a challenge in and of itself. The non-marathon safe strats involve us grinding while getting him killed off and some fun stuff like that. Just loading up on smoke pots here because we're going to need a lot of them for the next little section. Also want to buy. Alright, so we're going to go back to Chengdu. And like we've done before, we're going to fight one battle here, because we're going to go through another cave. And there is a slight bit more grinding we need to do. Not much, but a little bit. And I would rather do that without a whole lot of danger. You're going to go back there, and then we're going to start using these smoke pots that we just filled up our inventory with to make the rest of this trip here. So we'll be out on the road for a little while. If you have anything you would like to share, Nantara?
Yeah, absolutely. So, for anyone who's just joining us, we are currently fundraising in order to benefit the Spondylitis Association of America. This marathon is named Doctor of Love in honor of a lost community member, Dr. D, or Dr. Degenerator, who we lost about a year ago to complications related to his spondylitis. And around this time last year, we did run a marathon in order to fundraise for his family after he was gone. And that went really well, and everyone was so super generous. So we decided to do it again this year. And his family is doing as well as you can in that sort of situation. So instead, we are fundraising for the Spondylitis Association of America. So we have been more wildly successful than we could have even dreamed, but we haven't quite hit that 3,000 yet. So there is one bid war, which is still open for anyone who would still like to donate. Needless to say, you don't have to donate towards a bid war, but if you want your donation to go somewhere, we do still have a bid war to pick the character that we used for Super Monkey Ball 2. Currently in the lead is Baby with $130. Gongon is second with 120, Mimi is 105, and last but certainly not least is Ai at $25. So Baby, Gongon, and Mimi are very close together, so we could very easily tip the balance there if someone does not want Baby to win. So you have until the end of this run, which should be in about approximately 2 hours, to change that if you are so interested, or to continue donating. This marathon will be going for another few hours. We have 2 runs after Destiny of an Emperor, so definitely stick around even if you cannot donate at this time. We love having you all here, and please keep enjoying our runs.
Alright, thank you, Natara. So you need about another 1,400 experience before we get here. Now, and this is where there's the next, in a couple of battles we're going to fight, is another one of those that, casually, as a kid, just gave me nightmares, because it can go so poorly. Now, we've got a couple of strategies to hopefully make it a little easier in the speedrun, but we're going to be relying on a lot of coin flips for the rest of this game. The coin flip, we're going to have several chances at them. But if we get a bad streak, then it can go poorly. So we'll see how that goes. I think one more battle should probably do it, unless it's all rebel forces. They can go back to using smoke pots to speed up the travel a little bit more. No, I still need another battle. Meanwhile, I'm gonna pass a couple things over here. Pretty soon, we're actually going to see Zhuge Liang in a battle, which we have yet to see up to this point. I gotta still need one more battle. That'll most certainly do it. This, ideally, is the last random battle I will take the rest of this game. That all depends upon not running out of smoke pots at the wrong times, though. Or, as more often happens, me forgetting that I don't have a smoke pot active when I have a little bit of a hero run. I get all this text, something's glowing, a sudden chill. If you find a sword. This is the first of our legendary sword. It's the only one that gets this grandiose exposition. But it is incredibly powerful. You look at, each weapon has kind of a damage multiplier, and the scimitar that he just had a damage multiplier of 5, and this one's got a damage multiplier of 8, which, almost doubling its damage, so it's a pretty significant weapon. Those legendary weapons are all ones we want to find. We're going to get all but one of them in this game, in this run. So, in this next battle we're going to fight, we're going to go all out and hope it works well. The battle generally goes one of two ways. It either goes really well, really easy, or really nasty, and it's based upon whether he uses Li Jian. Li Jian is a tactic that, if it lands, your ally will suddenly be attacking you instead of your opponent. And, obviously, if your party members are attacking you, it can make the battle go a little more dicey. Alright, so here is where we're going to learn the magic tactic I've been discussing, which is Ansha, which, as I understand it, Ansha is the Chinese word for assassinate. That gives you an idea of what it does. It will be... it is an instant death spell. You will take your opponent's head, and that's a very nice way to get rid of a general that's got a specially nasty tactic. And that's the tactic that Zhou Yu has at this point in the game, which is why he's so dangerous. So what we're going to do is we're going to let these guys focus their attacks and get rid of the rebel forces for time purposes, and we're going to use Ansha on this Zhang Jiao guy. He is very difficult, as he has Beiji, Jimian, and Wanfu. Now, the odds of landing the Ansha with Zhuge Liang on Zhang Jiao is 50%. So, there's not, so we're just, doing coin flips here. This is, the Gimion's actually really not a bad thing for him to use, because he's got, Beiji not only increases the damage of your, physical attack, but it also increases the damage of your tactics. And so when he's got an AoE attack that already can do 1,000, and then he uses Beiji on himself, and then uses that attack, it can decimate the party very rapidly. So we are wanting him to continue to not use that until hopefully we can get it to land like that. We're in much better shape now. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to have him... This one is a much higher odd. This is not a coin flip with Bushi here. It will. I want to say that one's like a 75% chance of landing, so that's good. This next one will also be a 50%, but it's not as big a deal. We can all out and win this one still, if this goes awry. But we got it, so... Alright, that battle is, like I said, one of the ones that will cause you all sorts of issues casually. And if you don't know the on-shot mechanics, it can also cause problems. Basically, for any tactic, if you are within only 10 tactical points ahead of the opponent, not tactical points, intelligence ahead of the opponent, then your odds of landing a tactic are only 1 in 16. I believe is correct. If you are 10 to 50 ahead, then your odds of landing a tactic are 50%. If you are 50 to 100 ahead, then your odds of landing a tactic are 75%, and then if you're over 100, it's 15 out of 16. Now that's your general odds of landing a tactic. However, On-Sha has another mechanic, which is specifically, it takes that odds of success and then multiplies it by your character's intelligence over 256. So everybody else's gets significantly reduced, except for Zhuge Liang, who's 255 out of 256, so he stays at the coin flip level. Alright, so... Like Jia Yun I'll use sometimes for On-Sha on particularly dumb generals, because if we can get the 15 out of 16 chance, even though that gets multiplied by about 80%, it still is high enough to be worth risking. That's good. Now... Zhang Hong here is another 50%er. Unfortunately for us, the three major the three major remaining bosses in this game are hard-coded to be immune to On-Sha, so we are going to have to fight them in with other types of strategies. But for now, we'll settle with this, hoping that this will land at some point. This is one that if we end up failing completely and running out of tactical points, it's still probably going to be okay if we all out, but we might have some casualties from that. So ideally we don't want to. But I'm getting sick of waiting, so we're gonna all out and see what happens. Alright, good news. Alright, well I am apparently out of smoke pods. Did not intend to be, but I managed to miss one of my characters when I was filling up. So, we're briefly going to have a run where we have to worry about encounters.
That sounds pretty awful.
Yeah.
What could possibly go wrong, right?
Oh, nothing at all. No beheadings or anything.
Excuse me, I thought we were promised beheadings. I came here for the beheadings.
Oh. Then do I have a treat for you? My single favorite part of the game, in which I sing 50,000 pirate heads on the wall, 50,000 pirate heads. If you go into town, they talk about these brigands who caused them all sorts of problems and stole a sword. And so you come into this pirate hut here and to deal with them. And they are not particularly bright characters. And so, unfortunately, neither necessarily all of our people either. But we generally have a decent high chance of landing most of those and then finish them off right here. But if you wanted beheadings, well, here you go.
I've never been so happy in my life. Well, it literally said that you took the pirate's head. Wow.
Yes, exactly.
I'm temporarily satisfied.
Alright, so now we're going to make a quick trip back to somewhere where we can stock up on smoke pots.
Does that mean it's a good time to read out a donation?
It does mean that.
Fabulous! So we got a $5 donation from Doan2300-2300 saying, meow! Thank you so much for that donation, and it wasn't actually assigned anywhere, so if you wanted it to go to pick one of the characters for Super Monkey Ball, then just send me, Natara, a whisper, and telling me to which character you wish it to go, and I can move it there.
So, as one can imagine, this run would be very, very different if we couldn't get instant kills of all of our opponents. But since we can speed through a lot of this stuff. But again, when you're relying on coin flips for a lot of them, things can still go awry. You always take that risk. Alright, so as I mentioned, we talked to this guy here in town who says, hey, these brigands took the sword, and so we defeated them, or I don't know if they took the sword or they were just giving him problems, but we defeated these brigands and got another sword, which is another one of the legendary swords, and is equally as powerful as the other one. Not all the swords have the same attack power, but this one does. Alright, so now I'm going to... Okay, and now... I'm going to make Julian the strategist for just a moment. Because we're going to make use of his healing tactic, so that we can make this whole section in one trip. Otherwise, it usually takes two. So now we are in Wu, and we are heading after Sun Quan. So we are going to see a lot of generals with the family name Sun right now. Wow. Okay, well, I was not expecting that to happen. No, not this one, but... see, this is what this tactic that we like so much does. Everybody's now at full, and it cost us all of 4 tactical points. Which matters, because on Shaw, as wonderful as it is, takes 10 tactical points, and we can deplete our resources very quickly that way. Now I should note that once we hit level 31, which we will do at this battle, we are done learning tactics for any general. Which means that whatever tactical point total we hit here will be our final total. Generally, you want to have more than 130. Over 135 is good. Over 140 is like the stuff of dreams. The best I've ever had is 142, and that was on one where I got the Fubing level at level 12. And we are going to end up with a really good number. I just don't know exactly how good it will be. Our final total is 137. So it's a very good number. Given that we didn't learn Fubing and that we started off in pretty iffy shape, that's a really good result. Okay, so now we're going to go back to the beheadings. So now we've got Sun Huan out here. We've already taken off Sun Yi, and these guys hit hard. So now we will continue on our way here. And now we get to take on this next battle at the castle, which is going to... We're going to have to face off against Lu Xun, who is another one of these super high intelligence generals that has Beiji and Wanfu and Jimian and can cause all sorts of problems for that. So, we're going to hopefully have success with our Ansha here. So, well, that's good. Fortunately, Tai Shi is not particularly intelligent, and so Zhuge Liang can get him down easily. So, one of the nice things about Ma Liang is he's actually not smart enough to learn Wanfu, and so we do have, even though it's only like 1,000 soldiers per, so it's not quite as good. You're seeing Jimian still running here, even though everyone's gone. And this is what can happen with Jimian. You see how many turns it took for that to go. Now, Sun Chuan's like, alright, you beat all my other guys, that's it, I'm taking you on here. And we get the epic music. Trying to kill him, and if we can get Jimian to stick for a turn, we will attempt all-outing, but as you see, he has Jimian as well, so... And our Jimian wore off, his did not. We'll keep doing this. Fortunately for us, if a wipe here is not exceptionally painful, we will come back into this battle not, we would come back to this battle, and we would actually put Zhuge Liang as our strategist, which would allow us to use Beiji and the healing tactic, Jin Xian, which makes things a whole lot better. But it looks like we're doing pretty decently right now. Alright, there we go. Alright, so now we've defeated Sun Quan and have finished off taking care of Wu. Now we're going into Wei to handle Cao Pi. But before we do any of that, we've got some more mending to do. I'm gonna buy some helmets for our crew here. Oh yes, Sun Quan was the one responsible for assassinating Sun Ce, so killed his own father there. Now equipped ourselves, and now we're going to, again, as we keep doing, loading up on smoke pots. After we sell a few extra items that have been lying around. Unfortunately, this is one of the downsides to the end of the game. Seems to have a lot of extra menuing, and so it feels like it slows the pace down a little bit. But whatever now. We're just going to load up the entire party here with smoke pods, because we're going to go through a lot of them in the next little bit. So, with one of the tactic that we learned at level 31 was Semion, and it is like Jimion, except it nullifies all tactics instead of nullifying all physical damage. While nullifying all physical damage is very nice, when you're fighting guys that have Jimion and can stop your attacks, and have Semion and can stop your or have Jimion and can stop that, have Wanfu and can completely refill themselves, have Ansha and can take your head, it becomes there are times it's very valuable to stop the tactics. And so we will be making very good use of Semion. Unfortunately, the downside of that is that it takes 17 tactical points, and it still has that 3/8 chance of wearing off every single turn. So it can get really expensive real fast. We're not using that quite yet. We still have a few more heads to remove. Unfortunately, unlike in Wu, where Zhou Yu was the only one general with Ansha, Wei is littered with generals that are all too happy to separate you from your neck. And so we will probably see it many, many times. Hopefully not, but there's a lot of, you take my head, I'll take yours. Including Zhang Liao here, who is actually a fantastic general, who would be wonderful to recruit if possible, but by the time you can recruit him, it's, well, first of all, recruiting a general, I haven't really talked much about it, but in this game, once you've defeated a general at a castle, or at a gate or fortress or any kind of set battle, you can then, when you encounter them in the wild and kill them, you can recruit them, and they will join your party. And so you can have these guys on your side after that. But for Zhang Liao specifically, or him and a few other characters in this chapter, you can't recruit them right after beating them at the castle. You can only recruit them after we've gotten through another section of this game. Alright, so we got here and we come to this guy and he says, wait, is Zhuge Liang here? I want to be with him. And so we get this guy named Zhang Wei. And he is another tiger. He is also a tactician. And he's also very, very fast. So, what we end up doing is, as a tactician, he replaces Ma Liang because he's smarter. And in this, let me do this first. I'm gonna find a weapon here. This lady over behind me is going to complain that she stepped on something, or cut her foot on something behind a tree. So we go look underneath the tree and we find yet another legendary sword. Now this one is slightly weaker than the other ones were, but it still is more valuable than anything else. Now we're going to do a little bit more as we're going to get... This is the last set of gear we're going to purchase. Haven't talked much about gear, but it's... armor is basically, it's a pure absorb kind of situation. And the... and so, and it's based upon the value over 256. So when we get our armor here up to 200, or actually 190, that's basically we have an 80% absorb, which is very, very nice. And because otherwise these things will hit you really hard. When I was young playing this game, my brothers had said they didn't think that armor really did a whole lot. And so I went through without any armor, or with the weakest armor. And when you get to this part of the game and people are doing 6,000 to 7,000 damage to you per hit, it can be pretty painful and pretty hard to make it through the rest of the game. So unless you're a Taz, keeping your armor up is a very, very good idea. So there's two ways the next part of the game can go. And it all depends on how lucky we get landing on Shaw early. We can potentially do the next section in one trip, or we may have to do it in two. So we will find out which is which. So, you'll notice we're going to be fighting a lot of generals with the surname Cao, which was obvious because we're fighting Cao Pi, who's the son of Cao Cao, who was the ruler of Wei. And then we'll be fighting a lot of generals with the surname Xiaoho, which I believe are the family that adopted Cao Cao, if I'm not mistaken. And so all of these will be the people we're going to be fighting that are going to be defending Wei here. But how quickly Ansha lands on Cao Ji here is a big player in how the rest of this section goes. So that was good. Now we run into Cao Pi here, and he says, "Well, you declared yourself emperor. Well, I was just planning to hack you anyway. I'll just go ahead and do it now." So we're actually caught off guard here. That is hard-coded. Cao Pi has Ansha, so that is a significant danger. And he also has Ximian, so that's also unfortunate for our sakes. However, it turns out, well, you wouldn't know it from what we just saw, but it turns out that Cao Pi is not actually that smart in the scope of things when we talk about Ansha success rates. So generally speaking, if you can get the battle down to just him, it's not particularly painful. But we'll see if we lose any more heads in a minute here, once the Ximian wears off. This is actually a strat that's changed recently. Because of Ansha, we always went strats where we used Simeon, who had Zhuge Liang as the strategist, and used Simeon to prevent Ximian and Ansha from landing. And I've recently done some tests on it and found out, oh hey, look at that. I guess this is bad though. Because obviously he's now hitting us with the heavy-duty tactics. Shouldn't be around for long. Anyway, found out that he's unlikely to be able to take at least most people's heads, and so he can finish him off easily. But he's running around. He says, "I'll come back with more men. You should run." All right. Unfortunately, with the use, unfortunately, depending on how you want to look at it, with the use of having to use Wan Fu a couple of times there, we are going to have to go ahead and make 2 trips here, which isn't that painful because if you make 1 trip, the next couple of battles you're going to do with Zhuge Liang as your strategist, so you can have the healing tactic, and you'll be doing a lot of all-out, and it actually takes a little bit of time for that battle to happen. However, the generals you're going to be all-outing with are actually not very smart, and so you can... So you could also take their heads, but we don't have enough tactical points to take their heads if we've already done all the work at Cao Pi 1 and we've already done all the work at Cao Pi and Cao Ji. So because of that, we want to we need to go back and get our losing time. Trying to focus on too many things at once here. So if we go on 1 trip, we have to slow things down and can't Ansha those extra generals. But since we went and we covered, we can go Ansha anything we want now. So we've got plenty of tactical points, especially with how high we were given in this particular run. if you like this trip, you will, there's more where that came from. As we'll see in a minute. Alright, so we're going to just abscond with some more heads. So Taopi and Zunchuan were, by the way, two of the guys in this game who have immunity to head removal. So that's why we have to do slightly different things with them. Well, immunity to our head removal, I shall say.
That was vaguely ominous.
The only way for see in chat, the only way for a player to gain immunity to head removal is to get an active Semyon off so that the tactic is completely neutralized. But no, it's that's there. And yeah, Zhuliang is the closest you'll get to that because it's a 1 in 16 at best chance, and that's still depending upon the intelligence of the officer. And since the intelligence of the officer has to be under 240 in order to have Ansha, it's a really, really low odds. And here we go, we got Safi again, and we are yet again surprised, which again, it's hard-coded that we are going to be caught off guard with this battle, which again is problematic when he has Ansha and he can't do anything to negate it to start off with, or Jimian, or any of those things. Or we can use Hong Shui, which is the AoE tactic I was talking about that does 1,000 or so to each person. Oops. There we go. To answer the question in chat, this has a very, very early version of the randomizer that I put out last week, I guess. I decided to start trying to see what I could do with this game. So if you want to try something, it's very, very bug-ridden and whatever, but it does exist. Alright, so now Sima Yi's army has arrived, which is we're supposed to come and help Safi. So he's like, finally, I'm glad you came. And he's like, well, I must explain why we didn't join you sooner. And he suddenly attacks Safi. And he does it again, and he does it again, and he does it again. You can't run, you die here. And then Sima Yi gives us Saopi's head. So clearly he was able to remove Saopi's head, even though we were not. And he uses this thunder magic, which sends us right back to the start of right back to the castle we left a long time ago. So we're gonna have to go back to visit him again, and got myself all confused now. So we're gonna have to go back and deal with him again. But he has this thunder that sends us back, and if we go back to deal with him, he's going to use his thunder and send us back again, over and over again. However, if you go talk to Liu Bei here, he's going to tell you that Guan Yu's son, Guan Suo, has found out something about this. And so, if you don't already know how to stop the thunder, you can go back to Changsha and go talk to his other son, Guansua, and find out that there's code you have to put in to avoid it. And the code happens to be almost Konami thievery. It is up, up, down, down, left, right, up, down. And so when he says, or we go back to fight him, we put that code in, and we no longer have to worry about, or he will not be able to send us back to this castle yet again. And we are finally not going to see Zhuge Liang for a while. He has served his purpose for us at the moment. I don't think I have enough smoke pots. Late game inventory management is still kind of a hurdle that's yet to be cleared. There's just so many things going around right now, and especially with power pill usage being so unknown, because you never know how many you're going to use for who gets killed, or or when Jimian lands, or maybe the turn order could matter. All those kind of things can affect your inventory, how many open slots you have, etc., etc. And so figuring out how to manage that without spending a lot of time analyzing the inventory and keeping things in order is quite a challenge at the end of the game. And it's also very tight money-wise in terms of getting all the armor you want. And so it's something I'm still working on, trying to route through to make it more efficient, so that there's less menuing and less time spent flipping through different people's inventories. But sometimes when that happens and too many slots are taken, then you will find yourself a few smoke pots short. So we'll see what happens. Don't want to go back and get more right now, so we'll move forward and see what happens. So, as I said, if you like this trip before, you'll like it again even more next time. Now, unfortunately, there's no way to neutralize the thunder when he pulls it out the first time. Although, even if there were, I don't think there's any possible way you get through that gate, get through Cao Pi 1, and then, or get through the second Cao Pi, and then have enough resources to be able to do a thing to Sima Yi. Sima Yi is going to be nasty. Alright, let me focus on this for a second, make sure I don't misinput this. Yet somehow, after completely nullifying his thunder, we get caught off guard. Again, hard-coded in the game. One of my biggest fears when I run this game is screwing up that code and ruining a run. And then it actually happened one time. And that was a very, very disappointing day. So it can happen. You have to be paying attention. Just go into it thinking, oh, this is just another battle, or, off in your own world, like I was, then you're gonna suddenly hurt. So Sima Yi here. He is very smart, as in 250 intelligence, second smartest general in the game behind Zhuge Liang. He has oh, okay, I I wasn't sure if we had Jimmy on or not. Beiji, which is, as we know, is the damage doubling tactic. He has Jimmy on, stop us from attacking, and he has the most powerful AoE tactics in the game, in Huashen and Shui Long, which, when you add with Beiji, can do 5,000 damage to your entire party. He has Wan Fu, so with 40,000 soldiers, if he gets a chance to get it off, he can completely recover those. So, he is a very, very dangerous opponent. And it is very important that Simeon stays up on him, which is why it's so important for Zhang Wei, or make sure Zhang Wei has Chichu Ma, because that maximizes the chances of having someone go first. I mean, in actuality, Guanxing and Ma Chao could also have maxed agility with Chichu Ma, but they also are stronger and do a lot more damage than Zhang Wei will, so... But, fortunately for us, this Simeon never ran out, which is incredibly rare that we can get all the way through Sima Yi without that wearing out. Alright, so we've now taken care of Sima Yi. Now we can just all out take care of these guys. They're nothing but physical attacks. So there's really no risk here. Worst case scenario, we have to pull back and heal for a second. I don't even see that happening. Well, then that happens. Alright. Anyway, doesn't really make any difference. Resurrect them. And so, Sima Yi runs off, and we go and enter into Runan. Now, if you look at the soldier gains we get here, Zhang Bao gets 11,000 soldiers, and everybody else has got like 9,800 soldiers. Well, that's non-ideal, because... Did I ever actually buy more resurrects? I did not. Well, that's a surprise. Alright, anyway. I'm gonna do a couple things real fast. First, we're gonna take a random battle here, and you can probably guess why. We are going to make use of that in our cave with the cave glitch. So, the next thing I'm going to do is buy some resurrects. So anyway, we saw that everybody had, like, in the 9,800s. If you remember what I mentioned from way back, it hasn't been relevant in a little while, but the number of soldiers you have affects your multiplier. So, wouldn't it be nice if we had more than just one person with 5-digit soldiers? Well, turns out in this game, there's a secret hut hiding back here. And at any point in the game, and you talk to this guy, he will raise your level. So suddenly, Zhang Bao's at 12,000, Zhang Wei's at 1,100, Guanxing's at 10,000, Ma Chao still didn't get there, but Zhao Yun got to 11,000. So now all of a sudden we have 4 generals with 1,100, or 11,000, sorry. Which is extraordinarily convenient. And it works beautifully in the run to get us to that spot. So, alright. At this point, this is going to be our next to last menuing excursion, but it is going to be the lengthiest one. So if you have anything you want to share, Natara, have at it.
Well, just reminding everyone while we're here, we are currently fundraising to benefit the Spondylitis Association of America. We have currently raised $2,876 out of our currently desired $3,000. So if we can get that before the end of our marathon this evening, that would be fantastic. We still have probably less than an hour left to this current run. And then we have 2 runs afterwards. We have Super Monkey Ball 2 Beginner Percent, which is actually only 10 minutes long. And then it is immediately followed by Kirby Superstar 100%. Both of those games run by Sonny Rath, and they are going to be quite excellent. Now for Super Monkey Ball, we still have a bid war open. We have 4 different characters who you can bid between. Currently in the lead is Baby with $130. Gong Gong is at $120. Mimi is $105, and Ai is $20. Now, I have been informed that Ai is the main character, Baby is the Babby Monkey, Mimi is the cute one, and I can't remember who Gong Gong was, but it's currently in second place, so that sounds exciting. You can donate very easily to change and switch up if you do not want Baby in the lead. There is only a total of $25 in the difference between Baby, Gong Gong, and Mimi, so that is a really quick switch if anyone is interested in that. So you can just type !donate into the chat, and you will be provided with a donation link where you can donate as little or as much as you wish, but honestly, no pressure. Just being here chilling with us is the important thing.
Alright, well, thank you, Natara. So, outside of the smoke pots that I'm loading up, you may have noticed I dropped a couple of weapons because money is going to be no issue the rest of the game, so there's no reason to waste time selling. And I didn't actually equip any weapons on Guanqing and Zhao Yun. The reason for that is that we are going to find a couple of weapons very shortly before we're going to fight another battle. And so it's better off to use that extra slot for one more smoke pot because we've got a long way to go. Oops. Alright, okay. Almost done with menuing here. And then we will go take a quick safety save because it would be a real shame if we crashed and then had to do this all over again. Alright, so we're going to come back here and find our way through this hidden cave entrance right here. Now, as I mentioned before, we have these safe zones, so we're going to make as much use as possible to extend our smoke pots as far as possible. I also set up the cave glitch so that when we did have encounters, they would not be way encounters that might behead us. That was a really good run of not having a lot of encounters. Now we just got a long way to go through this cave. The goal of this cave, I think, is just to completely wear down your resources. Just a whole bunch of small little rooms to go back and forth on. Before I forget, I'm going to reorder my party. So the strategy for this battle is slightly different than all the rest because of those soldier lines. Because Ma Chao did not get to 10,000 soldiers, he's less valuable in these upcoming battles until he reaches that point. Even though he's actually stronger than Guanqing, with the lack of soldiers, he ends up not being very good. However, with Chituma, he has the maximum agility, and Jiang Wei, even without Chituma, has a very high agility. And so we're going to try to take you to that to get both of them to have turns before anybody else does. And if we can pull that off, then that allows them to potentially get a Beiji off on a character and its Simeon off for that character attacks, which will get them to be able to get a first turn attack in, powered up, and without Jimeon hitting. So that's all the strategy that's going into why we're doing it like this, whereas ordinarily I'd have Jiang Wei using I'd have Jiang Wei with Chituma, and have Ma Chao, on the offensive again instead. This one, Ma Chao's as much of a support role as Jiang Wei, so. And here, we're going to pick up the halberd. Now, I mentioned how how each weapon has a multiplier. If there's an attack power stat that shows up if you look at the general's information, and it's pretty much completely meaningless. I mean, a number with a higher attack power is going to do more damage, but there's no correlation directly between what the number is and how strong the weapon is. So if you look at the legendary weapons that I said had a multiplier of 8, they show a 240 attack power. If you equip the halberd, it will show a 255 attack power. However, in actuality, the damage multiplier for the halberd jumps from 8 to 16. So it is literally twice as strong as any other weapon in the game. And you can do some massive damage with that. When you add Beiji and a power pill to it, you can start mowing through opponent. So, which is why we want to make sure we get that Beiji off first, so that we can get an extra halberd attack. So we can get an extra halberd attack going off before. Just want to double check my weapons and make sure I remember to equip everybody. I've done that before. Alright. The nice thing is there's this battle right here, which this guy is really easy. And if you forget to equip a weapon, you will notice it very quickly, because you will see damage go down by like 10 instead of the several hundred or 1,000 that it would ordinarily. So it's a very convenient first place to go to. A very fortunate first little foray. And now, recognize this guy. You're going to see my again. Fortunately, he has no thunder. However, he has a few other tactics up his sleeve. He has two other tacticians with him this time, rather than two guys whose primary value is Ron. Yangqiu has Jimeon as well as Wanfu. They both have that, and so they are. It's going to be a very difficult battle in terms of doing damage. Now, in general, it's not an awful battle to try to beat. But the problem is that we aren't done once this battle is over. We have to continue on to another nasty battle, and we really desperately want to have tactic points left then. So, you're not seeing it, fortunately, today, but sometimes Simeon will wear off after every turn, and you can't afford to keep putting it back up. And continue on. And if you do wipe, then you have to go all the way back through all those caves again, which is just an annoying time loss. It's like a 6-minute time loss to do everything all over again. You know what? We're gonna have you do that. Then we're just gonna start getting power pills on you. So the fact that it's held like it has is, as you see, he had 556 soldiers and just used one Fu and could have brought himself back to 40,000 if the Simeon hadn't held. Fortunately for us, it did. And so this is not doing justice to just quite how nasty these battles can be because it's not wearing off. But anyway, this is going to make this whole section much easier since I had to use almost nothing. I don't think I've ever gone through that with just one Simeon, or without only needing one Simeon. I've only done it with one, but that's because I took risks. Alright, so we continue on our way. But before we do, we are going to get to remove some more heads. It's been a long time since we've gotten to do that. So we're going to let Zhuge Liang come back into our party. We're gonna come here. This guy says we will never get this castle. Now, Xinhua here is the reason everything gets so bad. Is he has Ansha, Ximian, Wanfu. And I'm gonna take a chance here. And he's smart enough that it's a 50-50 shot. So really bad things can happen in this battle, and if, with your coin flips, you need as many chances as possible. I've had many runs that have come to this part with 1 or 2 Anshas remaining, and failed to take his head, and the run ends there after all this time. It can be a real shame if it happens. Fortunately, we've had very good luck here, so you're not seeing it. The 420 estimate is taking into account that all of these kind of things can go wrong. But so far, nothing has gone particularly wrong, which is very nice. So we're probably going to finish pretty underestimate unless something goes absolutely catastrophic. Alright, so we're going to go to our inn, and we're good. When we beat this castle, this bridge appeared across the way. And if we go across this bridge, we see an area that you may have noticed a long time ago. This is right in front of Luoyang, which again was the capital of China, I believe. And so what happened was that Sima Yi and his cronies, Wei, have now taken control of the capital. And so we're heading back to Luoyang here to deal with that. Fortunately, he's got a lot of cronies blocked, in the way here too. So hopefully we can get through all 3 of these gates without having to go back and take a refill, but we'll see. All it depends, this Shenshun here is one of those coin flips. I really love the rebel forces that have 120 whatever, because this is the Zone 2 battles. we land it this time, we'll move on. Otherwise, we'll go back and get an inn. Alright, we'll move on. Long Con, another coin flip here. Okay, there goes one of them. Just need to land one more Long Con and we're good to go. After we finish this guy back, we're gonna go back and heal, and we're going to head to Luoyang and see what happens.
Perfect. Well, before you do that, can I read out a couple of donations we got?
Sure.
Perfect. So we got $25 from David TKI saying, I'm not sure I have enough money to donate, but since your cause is just, I will donate anyways. We really appreciate it, but don't donate anything you don't have. That's more important. But appreciate it all the same. And we also got $20 from Bahamut X saying, doing great in your first marathon, Thilotilo. Good luck in the rest of your run. So thank you so much for that. Let's see. Looks like those may have gone... Ooh, the bid war has heated up. Baby is still in the lead, but with 155 now. And Gongon is still in second, but with 140. Mimi is still trailing at 105, and Ai is still at 25. So the battle's still there if you want to decide the monkey. But yeah, donate responsibly. We appreciate all the money, but everything else is way more important. Oh, okay, he's trying to pay off. Okay, cool. We were just making a joke. Excellent, but still, to anyone who's listening, donate responsibly. We love you more. Okay, thanks.
Well, thank you. So I just went in there, and now I'm fighting Sima Yi's children. They got a surprise attack on me, and took Ma Chao's head. I got back at them by taking Sima Shi's head. These guys are both coin flips. And so, and they also blabber every time they try to do anything. They give me, how much does he pay, whatever, like, okay, landing back-to-back those is exceptionally rare. It's the kind of thing that happened in the world record run, but, doesn't happen a lot. Now, so now we've got them finished, and so we surprise them, and Sima Yi is like, okay, this isn't happening. I'm gonna beat you now. And he brings out the big guns. Now we can't use Ansha on him, and even if we could Ansha all the other generals, we can't. He would still use Jimian, Wanfu, the heavy-hitting stuff, and we would not be able to do anything with them. So, what we do is we use this one tactic that does not use any other point of the run, try to at least, called Gui Huan, and it is an escape from battle tactic. That will send me back to Liu Bei, whatever palace he's at. Unfortunately, its success rate isn't exceptionally high, but it's better than the 1 in 8 we would have to run in the standard way. So we're now going to we're going to go back and do our last restock, where we need to refill all of our power pills. And then we will go back and take on Sima Yi yet again. Forget this. I forget to give Zhuge Liang's gear back to Zhang Wei frequently, and then I forget to make to make Zhuge Liang the tactician afterwards. And that can be a problem, because as soon as you walk in and realize, oh, I'm in the same boat I was just in again, and then you have to use the tactic again to run away, and do this whole dance a second time, it can become really frustrating. 3, 3, 3, 4. Fortunately, I don't have to get any more smoke pots, just have to get power pills, and buy 1 gold wing to get out of here. One gold wing. Oops. And before we move off for the end, we're going to do one final safety save. Because we really do not want to have to go through that whole cave situation again. And here we go. At this point in routing, my dream would be to be able to find out a way to completely remove one of these trips to restock power pills and whatnot from the run, because that would speed things up dramatically. Alright, so here we go. We're back. And I did exactly what I talked about being afraid I was going to do, which is I forgot to make Zhang Wei, or Zhuge Liang my strategist. So now we're going to try the opposite direction, which is to run. Actually, we did a safety save, so let's just do that. That's the wrong one too. I think it could be the first time I've actually said out loud, I need to remember to do this and forgotten to do it, but, you know. I'm glad we did that safety save. Unfortunately, when you come back, you don't come back at the same place you saved necessarily. Of course, we used that as a warping. We used that to warp earlier, so it's not all bad. But all right, we got it correct this time. The fun thing about the Guihuan tactic that we used to get away from the battle the first time was that it's at the bottom of the tactics list, at the bottom of the box on the other side of Ansha. And it has happened multiple times before where I'm trying to rapidly click through things and I accidentally click that tactic, which isn't a big deal unless it's the last person and I can't unclick it. And since Zhuge Liang is always the last in my party in those situations, and he has the highest chance of landing a tactic, I'll accidentally, I'll be at an important spot, and then I'll accidentally end up warping back to the castle and having to go travel through everything again. It's a good time. We're also seeing turn order work in our favor. As I've said before, having the highest agility makes you likely to go first, but it certainly is not a sure thing, and there are many times when that person goes last in the turn, and we haven't seen that yet. So, this is definitely... We saw some rough RNG stuff to start off with, but the end of the game here has been pretty solid RNG. are pretty solidly good RNG. We'll say an underrated aspect of these power pills. Because what happens is sometimes you're going through this thing and you end up using a power pill to do like 5 damage, and that seems like a waste. But the thing is, if you just attack normally, your attack could be repelled. And so if you decide to send one guy towards Sima Yi at the end there because he has almost no health, and then he gets repelled, and all of a sudden there's a whole Wan Fu, and we gotta try this whole mess over again, the thing that goes on, it can be obnoxious. So, using Power Pill is a guaranteed hit. So it's a nice thing, even if you've got a small one, to use one just to make sure you got that. Now, Xingyu here has Ansha and Jimian and Wanfu, as we've seen from several other generals. So, we have to keep our Simeon up until Xingyu is dead. I did bother attacking anybody else, because as I mentioned before, you know exactly how much damage you're going to do with the Power Pill, and I'm going to do more than 4666. Except for I didn't attack. Oh, wow. I got lucky there. I thought I attacked Sima Yi with Jiayun here. So, that could have been disastrous. But it was not, because everything has gone our way in this battle. Here's Qingyu. Here's Sima Yi, and then we all out and drain the rest of these resources. Now, Sima Yi whines that he would have at least preferred his death to be at Liu Bei's own hand rather than his cronies, but at least China's finally united. And then, because this is one of the few games that you gain experience after even the final battle, we now level up here and waste time, which can be really frustrating at the end of a really good run. You're like, come on, I want to finish all those extra seconds going away. So now we've walked back into Luoyang, and it's been completely rebuilt. We get our special little, the world's happy music going on right now. And we come in to invite Liu Bei to the newly rebuilt capital, and he names us all off and says, "Thank you for everything you did. I will make sure that no uprising can threaten peace again." And that's time.
Congratulations, that went really well.
It did go very, very well. That's, that's in my top 5, I think, of times, and, that's with using all the marathon safety stuff that happened. I mean, before, a couple of weeks ago, the world record was at 334, and 2 months ago, the world record was at 407. So this game has had a lot of improvements, a lot of routing changes, a lot of work that's been put in especially by ACMLM and I, who've been tearing out this thing. Hangry Canuck has also been running it too, and so it had been sitting. The game had been kind of sitting dead for about 5 years, and then there's been a little more people itching to play it now, and we've been having a fun race to the top here. And so I was very excited to get the chance to showcase this game, especially for such a great marathon with such a great crew of people. And I appreciate everybody watching and all the support you're giving to the Spondylitis Association of America. And
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for that and for that amazing run. We are getting prepared. Thankfully, our next runner is around and ready, even though we finished so early. So we're going to go to a transition scene right now. And we will be seeing the stream go down shortly. And with that, we'll be just switching our restreamers, so you do not have to worry about anything. There should be no panic baskets. Everything is just fine. So we will see you all back here shortly. I'm going to get some in-between music while we wait.